night falls on a world before the march of time brought cities and electric lights. Imagine a time thousands of years ago when the only glow in the darkness came from the heavens above and the warm embers of a distant fire. The sky is a deep, endless blanket of velvet, pierced by countless points of light. Each star shimmers gently, free from the veil of modern pollution, casting a delicate silver glow across an ancient landscape. Under this vast dome of darkness, early humans lift their eyes upward. Above them, a river of starlight flows from one horizon to the other. It is the Milky Way, though they do not call it that yet. To their eyes, it is a ghostly band, a pale, luminous arc, misty and mysterious. It stretches over quiet forests and open plains, a constant companion in the night. The stars are so bright that they cast faint shadows on the ground below. With no walls or roofs to hide the view, our ancestors felt the full embrace of the cosmos every night. They lie on their backs in high mountain clearings, or stand outside their simple shelters on the grasslands, and lose themselves in the glitter above. The air is crisp and still. Perhaps there is the gentle chirp of night insects, or the distant hoot of an owl, but no other sound competes with the silence of the stars. In that silence, the mind drifts upward, wandering among the starry lights. Each tiny flicker up there feels alive, as if every star might be an eye peering back, or a small campfire in some distant realm. For these early people, the sky is both a clock and a canvas of wonder. The slow wheeling of stars overhead marks the hours of night. They notice that certain bright stars rise as evening falls and slowly drift westward as the night goes on. By dawn, those stars vanish, replaced by others, or lost in the morning light. In this predictable dance, they find comfort. The patterns of night repeat with reassuring consistency, a dependable rhythm in a world often filled with uncertainty. As seasons pass, the great dome of stars changes its story subtly each night. In summer, certain bright stars and clustering lights dominate the warm nights. When winter comes and the air is sharp and cold, a different cast of stars fills the sky early in the evening. Our ancestors, though they lack modern knowledge, come to know these celestial rhythms intimately. They sense that the positions of the sun, moon, and stars are tied to changes in weather, the growth of plants, the migrations of animals, the flow of rivers turning to ice and then back again. Their survival may even depend on reading those signs correctly. Imagine a group of nomads gathered around a flickering fire beneath this sky. Above them unfolds the grandest storybook, the stars forming shapes and patterns against the darkness. An elder with lines of wisdom on their face might raise a hand and gesture toward a bright red star rising in the east. With a calm voice, they tell the others that when this red star appears at dusk, the cold season will soon arrive. And indeed, night by night, the air grows chillier. The group prepares, guided by that star's return. In other places, people build structures to honor and track the heavens. Great stone monuments and circles, massive boulders heaved into place by human hands, are aligned with movements of the sky. On certain nights, perhaps the full moon of midsummer or the sunrise of midwinter, the light will pass exactly through a narrow corridor of stones or illuminate a special marker. How patiently they must have watched the skies to set those markers just so. Generation after generation, knowledge of the stars and seasons is passed down, not in books, but in stories and rituals beneath open skies. To those who came before us, the night sky was alive with significance. Every point of light could hold meaning or mystery. A slowly moving star might be no star at all, but a wandering planet. With keen eyes, they notice that 5 special lights do not twinkle like the others. These lights wander their own paths over weeks and months. In the dusky evening, one might follow the bright point we call Venus, shining steadily and never flickering like the distant stars. Another orange dot, Mars, wanders more slowly across the backdrop of stars. They cannot know what these wandering lights truly are, but they feel they are important. Perhaps gods or spirits, roaming the night, just as they roam the earth by day. Overhead, the moon joins the nightly pageant, a familiar friend with constantly changing faces. Some nights, it's a slim crescent, like a cradle of light hanging low. Other nights, a brilliant full orb that washes the land in pale brightness. They watch the moon's cycle, counting its days from slender crescent to full and back to dark. This too becomes a measure of time, a reliable circle of renewal. When the moon is full, the world at night is nearly as bright as day. Shadows form on the ground, and distant hills are visible in its glow. On those nights, perhaps the fear of the dark eases a bit, and people venture a little farther from their fires, comforted by the moon's gentle lantern. Yet even the moon has its mysteries. Once in a while, it might turn a deep red and grow dim, as though extinguished by an unseen force. Our ancestors witness lunar eclipses with awe. They see their familiar moon suddenly shadowed and strange, and in that departure from the ordinary, they sense that something powerful is at work. But in a few hours, the bright moon returns, and all is normal again. Such occurrences surely find their way into the whispered lore shared on subsequent nights. Perhaps a wise member of the tribe reassures the rest that the shadow on the moon is only temporary, a part of the sky's grand cycle. Under those ancient skies, free of modern distractions, the entire cosmos feels closer. It is a vast, unknowable expanse, but also intimately woven into daily life. The stars tell them when to plant and when to harvest. The appearance of certain stars at dawn or dusk marks the time for seasonal journeys or sacred rituals. In a world without mechanical calendars or clocks. The sky is calendar and clock combined, written in a language of light. It's easy to imagine a young child thousands of years ago, sleepy by the fire, gazing up at the sparkling canopy. Perhaps they tug at a parent's sleeve and ask, "What are those lights up there?" The parent, looking up with a gentle smile, might offer a comforting explanation, a story perhaps. They might say the lights are campfires of the ancestors watching over us, or holes in the blanket of night where the light of heaven shines through. The child listens, eyes wide, but growing heavy with sleep, comforted by the idea that those distant lights are friendly and protective. In that answer lies the beginning of myth and meaning. Under the ancient skies, explanation and imagination intertwine. The great dark above cannot remain just a mystery. Human curiosity and creativity fill it with stories. And so, as one day ends and another night of wonder begins, our forebears weave narratives about the cosmos they see. The stars become characters in tales passed down through generations. The night is no longer a simple backdrop. It is a tapestry rich with legends and lessons. In the stillness of those long ago nights, the first whispers of cosmic stories are born. The heavens, once an overwhelming mystery, start to feel a bit more familiar. People name the brightest stars, noting how they form shapes with their neighbours. Perhaps they see a line of stars arcing across the sky and imagine it as the backbone of a great animal, or the trail left by a celestial being. Night after night, with nothing separating them from that infinite expanse, early humans bond with the cosmos in a way we rarely do today. Every star becomes a point of reference, an old friend to greet as it rises. The Milky Way glows overhead like a bridge to eternity. In those times, there is no sharp line between earth and sky. They blend into one world, where spirits might walk up a shaft of moonlight, or gods descend on a staircase of stars. Anything seems possible under that dome of darkness and light. Our distant ancestors stand quietly, filled with wonder, but also a gentle sense of belonging. The sky is vast, and they are small beneath it, yet they do not feel insignificant. Rather, they feel connected to something greater. The patterns above mirror the patterns of their lives below, cycles of light and dark, birth and death, the ebb and flow of the seasons. The cosmos is mysterious, yes, but also comforting in its grand predictability and beauty. Beneath ancient skies, the seeds of questions are planted in the human mind. What are those lights? Who placed them there? Do they tell a story? Night by night, around glowing campfires, people share their thoughts and dreams about the sparkling heavens. They speak of ancestors becoming stars, of animal spirits roaming the night sky, of gods who dwell in the glittering firmament. These ideas soothe the mind and give meaning to the unknown. Wrapped in furs or blankets against the night chill, they drift to sleep with the sky's stories in their ears and its lights in their eyes. Every culture, in every corner of the world, has its own intimate experience with the night sky. From desert dwellers watching the heavens from sand dunes under frigid clear air, to islanders lying on warm beaches with the stars reflected in the sea, all feel that same mix of awe and comfort. The universe overhead is both glorious and enigmatic. It makes them feel small, yet also part of a grand design. The quiet majesty of a starry night can bring peace to a troubled heart. In that vastness, everyday worries shrink away, and one can simply be present in the moment under the eternal stars. When clouds occasionally veil the sky, perhaps there is a sense of loss, as if a nightly friend is missing, but inevitably the clouds part, and the brilliant tapestry returns. Imagine the relief and joy at seeing the Milky Way emerge again after many overcast nights, like a long-lost path suddenly found again in the darkness. So passed the nights for millennia, humankind living side by side with mystery, finding ways to understand it through stories and careful observation. Before formal science, before telescopes or satellites, there were only curious eyes and open minds turned skyward. That boundless curiosity, mixed with the need for comfort in the unknown, gave birth to rich traditions about what the cosmos was and what it meant for those beneath it. From these humble beginnings, beneath ancient skies, the human journey to unravel galactic enigmas commenced. It started not with equations or experiments, but with wonder and imagination. In that darkness, lit by stars, the first chapters of our cosmic story were written, not on paper, but in the collective dreams and tales of our ancestors. Those stories would be told and retold, shaping how later generations would see the sky. And one of the grandest features in that sky, the pale, luminous river of the Milky Way, beckoned for explanation and inspired the creation of legend after legend, which would echo through time. Look up on a clear, dark night, and you will see it. A glowing band stretching from horizon to horizon, so rich with stars that they blur into a gauzy trail of light. To us, it is the Milky Way galaxy, seen from inside. But to ancient eyes, it was a mystery, begging for a story. Across cultures and ages, people gazing at this misty band of light have woven it into their myths and legends, each culture colouring it with their own dreams and beliefs. In the quiet of night long ago, someone might have pointed to that soft shining path and asked, "What is it? How did it come to be?" Many beautiful answers arose. To the storytellers of ancient Greece, that glowing arch above was literally milk, the milk of a goddess strewn across the sky. They told of the mighty infant Heracles, placed at the breast of the goddess Hera as she slept. When Hera awoke and realized this was not her child, she pushed the baby away. A spray of her divine milk spilled out across the heavens. Thus, the Greeks said, the Milky Way was born from the milk of Hera, its faint white glow forever reminding us of that celestial origin. Far to the east in old China, the Milky Way was seen not as milk, but as a silvery river. On either side of this heavenly river lived two lovers, the weaver girl and the cowherd, placed among the stars by the gods. By fate's decree, the sparkling river in the sky kept them apart. The Weaver Girl, represented by one bright star, and the cowherd by another, could only meet once each year, on the seventh night of the seventh moon. It was said that compassionate magpies would form a living bridge across the starry river. For that single night, the two lovers would reunite, their happiness causing the Milky Way to shine a little brighter. This tender story gave hope that even across vast distances, love could find a way. To this day, people in parts of Asia celebrate a festival in honor of those celestial lovers when late summer brings that seventh night. Travelers and nomads under African skies also looked up and found meaning in the Milky Way's glow. In one telling from the Kalahari, a girl flung ashes from a campfire into the sky to help her lost people find their way home in the dark. Those ashes became the Milky Way, a band of glowing embers guiding them across the night. Each tiny star in the Milky Way was like a glowing coal, collectively forming a trail one could follow. In the cold northern lands of the Norse people, the Milky Way was sometimes called the path to Valhalla. They imagined that the shimmering band was the road along which the souls of fallen warriors travelled to their final resting place among the gods. On clear winter nights, when the Milky Way arched brightly overhead, one could almost picture an ethereal bridge crowded with brave spirits, all marching toward a heavenly feast. For the Norse, the sky was not distant at all, but directly connected to their destiny after death. Each story turned the unknown into something familiar. In the woodlands of North America, the Cherokee told of a dog that stole cornmeal and ran off into the sky. As it fled, it scattered the meal behind it, creating a whitish trail across the heavens. Thus, the Milky Way was known as where the dog ran. What a gentle, playful image that is. A dog bounding across the night and leaving a path of starry dust in its wake. It likely brought smiles around the fire to hear that even a misbehaving dog could create something as beautiful as the Milky Way. The Milky Way also became a home for heroes and ancestors in many cultures. In Hungary, legends spoke of a great warrior prince riding with his army along that path of light. The stars were said to be sparks, flying from the hooves of their horses as they galloped across the sky to defend their people. When folks saw the thick band of stars overhead, they imagined their celestial guardians up there keeping watch. To ancient Egyptians, the Milky Way might have resembled a celestial river of milk flowing through the heavens, a reflection of the Nile in the sky, or a divine aspect of their cow goddess. Some saw it as milk from the sky cow, nourishing the universe. In their minds, the sky was a goddess arching over the earth, and the Milky Way her heavenly aspect, perhaps a great river dividing parts of the cosmos. Meanwhile, under the southern hemisphere's sky, Aboriginal Australians crafted rich stories from that same band of stars. One group spoke of it as a great river in the sky world, with dark patches among the glow marking the resting places of spirits. They saw campfires and footprints along that river of light. In their dreaming stories, the Milky Way could be the backbone of the night, or the pathway that ancestral beings travelled during the creation of the world. Where others saw a hazy streak, they saw the imprint of their eternal dreaming shining above. All these tales, different as they are, share a common thread. They bring the heavens closer to the human heart. They make the vast, unreachable band of the Milky Way into something relatable. A spilled drink, a river, a road, a bridge of birds, a trail of ashes. By giving it meaning, people felt less alone under its expanse. The unknown became less frightening when it was part of a story they could tell and retell. Think of the atmosphere of those tellings. A family huddled together on a clear night, all eyes turned upward at the glowing Milky Way. A child asks, "What is that faint cloud across the sky?" The elder, with a twinkle reflecting the starlight, begins a tale, perhaps of the weaver girl and the cowherd, or of the dog and the cornmeal. The child listens, enraptured, no longer seeing random stars, but now picturing a sky full of meaning and life. The band of light becomes a source of comfort, a sign that the sky is filled with stories, just as the earth is. Sometimes, the Milky Way's legends were also practical. The Finno-Ugric peoples of northern Europe, for example, called it the bird's path, noting that migrating birds seem to follow the Milky Way at night. They believed this glowing river of stars guided birds southward to a warm haven and back north again when the seasons changed. To them, the Milky Way was literally a roadmap for the feathered travellers overhead. Imagine lying on your back on a chilly autumn night, watching geese fly across the stars, believing that the animals navigate by that misty band of light. The sky was not separate from life on Earth at all, but directly intertwined. With each retelling of a Milky Way legend, generation after generation maintained a connection to the cosmos. These stories were a precious inheritance, as important as any tool or skill for survival. They taught respect for the sky and its cycles. They reminded listeners that there is order and intention in the cosmos, whether by whim of gods or the spirit of nature. And beyond lessons, they provided beauty, a kind of verbal art that painted the sky with imagery long before any astronomer could paint it with facts. Even in places separated by vast oceans, where people had no contact with each other, their stories for the Milky Way often carried similar feelings. Many imagined it as a road or path, perhaps because it arches across the sky, inviting travel. Many saw it as something spilled or strewn, likely inspired by its uneven, dusty appearance. Whether a highway of souls, a bridge of birds, or a ribbon of milk, it was always something flowing, connecting, or guiding. And while the myths varied, the sense of mystery was universal. The Milky Way, so prominent on a dark night, stirs a kind of reverence. Even without understanding what it truly is, a sprawling galaxy of billions of stars, ancient people grasped that it was incredibly special, unlike anything else in the night sky. It demanded an explanation more grand than a simple point of light. It became the backbone of night mythology, a central feature in the tapestry of the sky's stories. As the night grew deeper and the Milky Way wheeled overhead, one can imagine those old storytellers gradually falling silent. After all the tales were told and the children were nodding off, they too would gaze quietly up, perhaps still awed by the sight, even though they'd seen it all their lives. There is a softness to the Milky Way's light, a diffuse glow that makes one feel as if the universe is a gentle presence, not an empty void. In that soft luminescence, their imaginations could wander safely. the mysterious glow became a soothing nightlight for the world, reassuring people that the sky was watching over them with a million gentle eyes. So the legends of the Milky Way carried through the ages, whispered under open skies, later written in songs and poems. They set the stage for how humanity perceived the cosmos, not just as cold and distant, but as full of narrative and meaning. The Milky Way, that beautiful enigma, was a source of comfort and intrigue. And while it remained a steady, unchanging feature each night, the sky was not always so predictable. Now and then, it would surprise our ancestors with something new or unexpected. A brilliant streak, a darkening sun, a sudden new star. These events, rarer and more startling, were seen as messages or omens from the cosmos, drawing humanity's eyes, and sometimes its fears, upward in a different way. In the great theatre of the night sky, not every act was serene and unchanging. On occasion, the heavens unveiled phenomena that startled and amazed those watching below. To ancient people, unaccustomed to sudden change in the reliable patterns above, these occurrences felt profoundly significant. The appearance of a blazing comet, the darkening of the sun, or a star where none had been before, all were interpreted as celestial omens, signs that the universe was communicating with those on Earth. Consider the sight of a comet streaking across the sky in ages past. On a peaceful night, amid familiar stars, there appears a traveller not seen before, a star with a tail, moving slowly against the starry backdrop, night after night. Its tail might stretch a quarter of the sky, a ghostly plume glowing eerily. To people who had only ever known fixed stars, such an apparition could feel both magical and ominous. Many cultures regarded comets as heralds of change. Some whispered that they were dragons breathing fire, or swords brandished by angry gods. Others thought them torches lighting the way for great heroes, or kings who had passed into the next world. But almost everywhere, a bright comet arriving unexpectedly was taken as a sign that something important was happening, or about to happen. We can picture a small village centuries ago, its people familiar with every star and phase of the moon, suddenly noticing a strange new light in the sky. Night after night it grows brighter, its tail unfurling across the stars. The elders gather, recalling tales of such a sight. Perhaps they remember that when a comet last graced the sky, a great leader died, or a famine ended, or a war began. With worried eyes they watch this new messenger, wondering what news it brings, good or ill. By the flicker of their lanterns, they share old prophecies or prayers, hoping to appease whatever forces sent this omen, or to prepare for the changes it might foretell. One of the most famous comets, which we now call Halley's Comet, has appeared again and again throughout recorded history, each time sowing a mix of fear and wonder. In the year 1066, chroniclers noted a great comet blazing in the sky over Europe. The English king reportedly took it as a bad omen, and indeed that year he lost his crown to invaders. Far to the east in China, where meticulous sky watchers had been recording comets for centuries, a long-tailed comet was carefully noted in the records, its colour and direction described. They believed it warned of events at court or natural disasters on the horizon. Yet not all cometary omens were gloomy. Some saw them as cleansing agents, sweeping away the old and making way for the new, like a cosmic broom crossing the heavens. Then there is the profound drama of an eclipse. Imagine a bright sunny day in an ancient city. Without warning, the sun's light begins to fade, as if an invisible hand is sliding a dark disk over it. Birds grow quiet, confused by the sudden midday twilight. People look up and see their life-giving sun being consumed, bite by bite, by darkness. Fear grips their hearts. In some cultures, they believed a monstrous creature was devouring the sun or moon during eclipses. A dragon in China, a demon in parts of Asia, or a giant wolf among the Norse. In desperation, communities would band together to scare the intruder away. They banged pots, clanged gongs, shot arrows toward the sky, and raised a clamour, hoping to chase off whatever was swallowing the sky's light. Imagine their relief and joy when, after a short while, the sun begins to reappear. Light returns, the world brightens, and it seems their efforts succeeded. The dragon released the sun, the wolf fled, and day was restored. That experience would be recounted for generations. How the people bravely fought to save the sun, and how they learned to be vigilant for the next time an eclipse's ominous shadow fell. Over time, wise observers discovered that eclipses followed patterns, that they could be predicted. In ancient Babylon and China, astronomers learned to foresee lunar eclipses using careful records. Yet even with predictability, an eclipse remained an awe-striking event, often cloaked in ritual and reverence, rather than treated as mere celestial mechanics. Beyond comets and eclipses, the sky occasionally offered other surprises. There were guest stars, as Chinese astronomers called them, sudden stars that appeared where none had been visible before, shining for a few weeks or months, and then fading away. We now know these were supernovae, stars exploding in distant reaches of our galaxy. But to those on Earth long ago, they were mysterious new lights. One appeared in the year 1054, and was so bright it was visible even in daylight for weeks. It surely astonished anyone who saw it. A brilliant star, suddenly lighting up the dawn sky beside the waning moon. In some chronicles, it was recorded as a wondrous or foreboding sign. To many, such a thing might signify the birth of a great person or the death of an old era. Even the steady planets, usually predictable in their wanderings, could line up in rare ways that triggered excitement or dread. A conjunction of planets, say Jupiter and Saturn drawing close together, was watched closely by astrologer priests. They thought the meeting of bright planets could forecast major changes on Earth: the rise of a king, the fall of a city, an era of prosperity or war. If Mars, the red planet of war, shone especially bright or crossed paths with Saturn, some took it as an omen of conflicts looming. Around 2,000 years ago, a particularly striking event occurred. Jupiter and Venus converged so closely that they almost merged into a single, dazzling light. Some speculate this could be behind the tail of the Star of Bethlehem, interpreted as a sign of a holy birth. Whatever the truth, those watching the skies at the time would have been spellbound by the sight of two bright lights becoming one. The key with all these celestial omens was interpretation. The sky became a cosmic mirror for human fears and hopes. If times were troubled, a strange sight in the sky was a warning. If hope was needed, the same sight might be spun as a blessing or the end of misfortune. In kingdoms and empires, rulers often kept wise men or sky watchers at court to read these heavenly signs. Imagine an emperor being told that a comet portends unrest. He might act decisively to secure his realm. Conversely, hearing that an eclipse at the moment of his victory means the heavens favour him could reinforce his rule. For ordinary people too, the sky's surprises held personal meaning. A farmer, seeing a bright shooting star race across the midnight sky, might make a wish or say a prayer, believing it an omen meant for them. A community might hold a special ceremony if the moon turned blood red during an eclipse, perhaps fearing it signalled illness or poor harvests to come, and seeking to appease whatever powers darkened the moon. By responding to these events with ritual, song, and story, people found a way to face their fear of the unknown. Yet it wasn't always fear. Often it was pure wonder that these omens inspired. Beyond whatever message people read into them, they were simply magnificent natural events. The shimmering tail of a comet, the sun's ethereal corona revealed during a total eclipse, the sudden blaze of a meteor streaking the heavens. These sights were beautiful and humbling. They reminded those watching that the cosmos was full of marvels, not just static points of light. Consider the Perseid meteor shower that comes each summer. To ancient eyes, on certain nights, the sky seemed to rain stars. Dozens of shooting stars would scratch their luminous paths overhead each hour. Some cultures saw these meteor showers as tears of celestial beings, or sparks from divine forge fires in the heavens. Others celebrated them as gifts of light. In any case, a night of many meteors was a special occasion, worthy of staying up late to watch, counting each quick flash and marvelling. In the gentle telling of the night's events, an elder might assure the young ones that not every unexpected sky event was cause for alarm. Sometimes, they'd say, the universe just puts on a show, and we can simply enjoy its beauty. A streak of light could be a traveller going home to the heavens, or a message being sent across the sky. Why assume it's bad? In more hopeful traditions, a meteor might mean a soul was being released, or a prayer answered. Throughout all these experiences with celestial omens, one thing remained constant. The night sky held great sway over the human imagination. The heavens were like a giant stage, where divine or mystical dramas played out now and then, with humanity as the audience. People listened with rapt attention, even if they could not fully understand the language of the stars. In that attentive watching, they slowly gathered knowledge as well. They began to track patterns in these omens, when they occurred, how often, and perhaps even why. Over centuries, this careful observation laid the groundwork for the next phase of our relationship with the sky. The realization grew that even wondrous omens followed natural cycles or rules. A comet, seen by a grandfather, might return when his grandchildren were grown. Eclipses, once terrifying, could be anticipated and thus greeted calmly, perhaps even celebrated as cosmic wonders rather than feared as monsters. The line between omen and astronomy was beginning to emerge, though it was still faint. For now, though, in the eras before science, every unusual celestial event was deeply meaningful. It stirred hearts, guided actions, and wove itself into folklore. After the comet had passed, after the eclipse ended, stories of them would be told at gatherings, embellished a bit with each retelling. The comet that glowed green and brought a great cold. The eclipse when even the roosters thought night had come. The shooting star that signalled a hero's birth. These tales became part of a culture's identity, binding people together with the shared memory of a time when the sky spoke to them. As the night sky resumed its usual calm, with familiar constellations and the steady Milky Way once again dominating the darkness, people returned to their routines. But they never forgot those times when the sky seemed to speak. It kept them looking up, more curious than ever. In the quiet after the cosmic storm, as a community sat under the stars, someone might point out the patterns that were always there, the ones that reassured them that not everything in the sky was unpredictable. If omens were the sky's way of shouting, constellations and patterns were its gentle whisper, ever present, guiding, and ready to be understood by those who paid close attention. When the sky is calm and clear, free of startling omens, one can see that it is filled with patterns. To the unaided eye, the stars might seem scattered at random, but with a bit of imagination and tradition, certain groupings emerge as familiar shapes. These are the constellations, the figures that humans have traced among the stars for as long as anyone can remember. Finding patterns in the stars is a natural inclination, like seeing shapes in clouds. But over time, these star patterns gained stories, significance, and even practical use. They became our nighttime companions, a sparkling connect the dots of myth and meaning across the sky. High above, 6 or 7 bright stars curve in a familiar shape. To many around the world, they form the outline of a giant bear. This great creature appears to walk eternally around the pole star, never setting, as though keeping vigil through the night. The ancient Greeks told of Callisto, a woman turned into a bear and set in the heavens by Zeus. Her shining form became Ursa Major, the Great Bear. Far away, the peoples of the far north also saw a bear, or sometimes a caribou, in those same stars. Meanwhile, in medieval Europe, folks looked at the brightest part of the bear, what we call the Big Dipper, and saw a plough or a wagon. And in East Asia, that same pattern was seen as a celestial bureaucrat's chariot, or a dipper for scooping celestial nectar. So one cluster of stars inspired many images: a bear, a wagon, a ladle. Each culture connected the dots in their own way, painting their own pictures in the night. Not far from the Great Bear's realm, another pattern stands out on winter nights. Orion, the hunter. With his line of 3 stars for a belt and a bright shoulder and knee, Orion's form is one of the most striking. To the Greeks, he was a mighty hunter striding across the sky, accompanied by his faithful dogs, one of which is marked by Sirius, the brightest star in the night. They told many tales of Orion, but interestingly, Orion is recognized in many cultures. In ancient Egypt, some saw him as the god Osiris. In China, the same stars were seen as part of a different figure, perhaps a great general or even a celestial drum. Some cultures saw not a human at all, but a heavenly figure like an archer or a group of dancing youths. Orion's belt and his bright stars are so noticeable that people everywhere found a way to incorporate them into their sky lore. Elsewhere, a delicate cluster of tiny stars nestles close together like a little misty patch to the naked eye. On a very dark night, one might discern 6 or 7 individual points in this cluster, though there are many more too faint to see. This is the Pleiades, sometimes called the 7 Sisters. How many nights have humans looked up and counted those little stars? Likely for tens of thousands of years. Indeed, researchers suspect that those 7 little stars are painted in prehistoric caves and mentioned in the oldest tales. They have been a useful calendar. Their first appearance in the pre-dawn sky often signaled a change in seasons. For some ancient farmers, it meant time to sow. For sailors, it warned of storms calming. But in story, they became siblings or friends. The Greeks imagined them as 7 sisters pursued by Orion across the sky. Many Native American stories also speak of the 7 sisters, often as companions who fled into the sky to escape danger, becoming stars. Seeing that cluster, people around the world felt a kinship. It's as if those stars themselves were a little community shining together. Each constellation carried lessons or served as a reminder. As the wheel of the year turned, certain constellations would dominate the sky and herald the change of seasons. When the constellation of Scorpius, with its graceful curving tail, appeared in the southern sky at dusk, people knew the heat of summer was approaching. When it faded, and mighty Orion took its place in the winter nights, the chill season had come. These patterns were nature's calendar, written in lights overhead. No written record was needed. One just had to look up and recognize the characters in this heavenly play. Consider navigation as well. Long before compasses, people found their way by the stars. The patterns were not just stories, but tools. In the northern hemisphere, the star Polaris, the North Star, held a fixed point in the sky. Night after night, it hovered in the same spot, while the rest of the stars slowly circled around it. Knowing this, travelers could orient themselves. A lost wanderer or a sailor on a dark sea could find Polaris by following the pointer stars of the Big Dipper. Then feel comfort in knowing which way was north. In a similar way, in the southern hemisphere, navigators looked for the Southern Cross, a compact, cross-shaped constellation to guide them southward. One can imagine a mariner on a gently rocking ship, the sea calm and the sails full of night breeze, glancing up to fix the positions of star patterns and chart a course home. There is a profound poetry in that. The same stars that sparked myths also practically guided humans across deserts and oceans. Far out in the Pacific, Polynesian navigators in double-hulled canoes memorized the rising and setting of countless stars to voyage between distant islands. With no instruments, they relied on a mental map of the night sky, knowing that a certain star cluster would rise in the east to guide them to one island, while a bright star setting at dusk might lead them toward another. On these open ocean journeys, the sky was a trusted compass, and the patterns of stars were life-saving knowledge passed down through training and tradition. A navigator might lie back in his canoe at night, aligning himself with the star patterns, feeling the swell of the ocean, and confidently discerning direction from the arc of the Milky Way and the positions of key stars. This remarkable skill allowed people to cross vast distances of sea long before modern navigation, all by attuning themselves to the cosmos above. On land, merchants and explorers crossing featureless terrains like the Sahara or broad steppes also leaned on the sky's map. The stars were trustworthy friends in an environment where landmarks were few or ever shifting. To travel by starlight is to partake in a tradition as old as civilization. Stories around caravan fires likely mixed practical star lore with enchanting tales. A guide might point out a constellation and say, "When that cluster sits directly above, we must head east," and then perhaps recount the myth of how that cluster came to be. Thus, patterns in the stars were woven into the very fabric of daily life. They gave people a sense of place and direction, both physically and spiritually. Many cultures even believed that their gods or ancestors placed those constellations deliberately to teach or protect. The zodiac, a band of constellations along the path the sun travels through the year, was especially significant. The 12 zodiac constellations like Leo, the lion, or Taurus, the bull, became symbols of the cycles of life, used in astrology to glean meaning about human affairs. Seeing a planet wander into one of those zodiac constellations could be read as a portent. At the same time, the zodiac constellations also served to mark the seasons. When the sun rose in Aries, spring had arrived. When it rose in Libra, autumn was due. Even without knowing why stars move or seasons change, people had this reliable cosmic clockwork to live by. And while much of this knowledge grew formal over time, with priests and navigators learning the skies deeply, the basic wonder of connecting the stars into shapes was accessible to anyone lying under the night. A child might gaze up and invent new pictures, maybe seeing a giant fish or a storytelling grandmother among the stars. In some small way, the patterns remain open to imagination even now. If you've ever looked up and tried to make your own constellation, you are playing the same game our ancestors did. It's a comforting exercise, almost like finding a familiar face in a crowd of strangers. What's truly magical is that these star patterns gave distant peoples a shared experience. The very same moon and stars shine on everyone. So a sailor on the Mediterranean and a shepherd on the Asian steppe might both look at Orion on a winter night and feel connected through their respective stories of that constellation. The characters differed, but the canvas was shared. In a way, The sky united humanity, one giant storytelling board for all, retold with endless variations. The calm repetition of the constellations was also a lullaby of sorts. They changed position, but never shape, always coming back year after year, knowing that long after one's life, Orion would still be hunting, and the Great Bear still circling, might have been a comforting thought about continuity in a changing world. People could point to the same star their ancestors did and tell the same story, or a new one, to their children. It created a lineage not just of blood, but of skywatchers across time. Under the soft twinkle of these patterned stars, communities bonded. Festivals were timed to starlight. Perhaps when the Pleiades first appeared at dusk, a harvest celebration would commence. Or when Sirius, the dog star, rose before the sun in ancient Egypt, it signaled the flooding of the Nile and time for great preparations. Stars were thus woven into the rhythms of culture. The patterns were more than pictures. They were keys to when to feast, when to travel, when to plant. Over the centuries, as people invented devices like the astrolabe, they could map the star patterns more precisely and even use them to determine latitude, making voyages safer. But in this part of our Odyssey, we linger in the era where eyes and memory were the main tools, where learning the stars meant spending long nights just watching, recalling, and teaching by word of mouth. How peaceful it must have been to do so, generation after generation, under skies unmarred by artificial light, just the radiant dust of the Milky Way, and the figures of heroes and animals drawn in starlight. Perhaps the quiet was occasionally broken by a friendly debate. Does this star belong to the pattern of the lion, or to that of the cup? Should we count that faint star as part of the hunter's sword, or not? In deciding and naming these constellations, people exercised creativity and claimed a small sense of ownership over the night sky, making it their own in a gentle way. Of course, not all traditions divided the sky the same way. There were as many constellation systems as there were cultures. Yet certain prominent groupings, like Orion or the Pleiades, appear in many mythologies, suggesting some sites were just too striking not to notice similarly. Even the differences are delightful. Where Western stargazers see a swan in the Northern Cross, Cygnus, others saw the spine of a sky dragon. Where one culture saw a scorpion, another saw a fishhook. These diverse interpretations show how wonderfully creative humans can be when given a canvas of stars. And so, under the stable patterns of the night, humanity grew more confident. The stars, whether forming a hero's saga or a cosmic animal, were friendly in their familiarity. They could be counted on to rise and set in their time. If omens were the sky's way of shouting, constellations were its gentle whisper, guiding and teaching quietly. We listened, we learned, and we found comfort. Yet even as these stories and patterns enriched the soul and sharpened our wits, a new curiosity was awakening. Beyond just recognizing patterns or fearing omens, some began to wonder what the stars truly were. Could they be distant fires or other worlds? Could the earth itself be like one of those lights, if seen from afar? These were radical thoughts, but they began to surface as the human mind reached further. The ancient patterns and myths, as beautiful as they were, left certain questions unanswered. A few brave thinkers dared to imagine answers beyond the traditional stories. They respected the tales of the gods, but also sought a more concrete understanding of the lights overhead. And so, as we come to the close of this era of myth and early observation, we stand on the cusp of a dawn of true discovery. The night has been long and filled with stories that guided and comforted. Now, gradually, daybreak approaches in an intellectual sense. The sky's patterns have done their part in inspiring us. Now, they will drive us to ask new questions and to seek knowledge in a new way. The scene shifts to a slightly later time in human history. The stage is still the night sky, but our gaze has grown more probing. We have told stories about the stars for millennia. Now, a few inquisitive minds yearn to learn the star's own story. This is the dawn of discovery, when the first glimmers of scientific understanding begin to mix with the ancient light of mythology. Picture a scholar in ancient Greece, around 2,500 years ago. He stands on a rooftop in a city like Athens, looking up at the sky with the same wonder as his ancestors, but also with a new idea, that the movements up there might follow rules that human reason can uncover. This was a brave thought, because the heavens had long been seen as the unknowable realm of gods. Yet, quietly, early astronomers started charting the paths of planets, noting the timing of eclipses, and even proposing what might lie at the center of it all. They built on knowledge from Babylonians and Egyptians, using geometry to predict star positions. Some suggested that maybe the Earth was not the center of everything. One bold thinker even proposed that Earth moves around the sun, though few believed him then. Still, these ideas were sparks of a fire that would one day light up the world. The real breakthrough would come much later. Jump forward to a chilly night in the late 16th century. In Poland, a gentle clergyman named Copernicus has left behind a radical theory that the Earth is one of the planets, and they all orbit the sun. He shared it quietly at first, but the seed was planted. A few decades on, a passionate Italian named Galileo peers through a new invention, the telescope, and his jaw drops at what he sees. He points it at Jupiter, the bright wandering star, and discovers 4 tiny moons dancing around it. He points it at our own moon and sees mountains and craters, realizing it is a world with terrain, not a perfect heavenly sphere. And when he turns his telescope to the Milky Way, he beholds countless stars where the unaided eye saw only a cloudy glow. In one sweep, Galileo proves that the Milky Way's faint light comes from myriads of distant suns. The ancient legend of a river of milk is transformed into a reality even more wondrous. A multitude of stars, too numerous to count. Imagine Galileo's feelings on those nights of discovery. He too was under the spell of the night, but now he had a tool to dive deeper into its secrets. Perhaps he felt like a traveller crossing an unseen bridge into the heavens themselves. He wrote of his findings with excitement, though he faced strong resistance from those who held the old beliefs dear. Through his eyes and his telescope, ordinary people learned astonishing truths. Venus shows phases like the moon, meaning it orbits the sun. Saturn isn't a simple ball, but has strange appendages, which we now know are rings. The sun has spots that come and go. These revelations were shocking for their time. They showed the heavens were not unchanging perfection, but dynamic and varied, much like the earth. The dawn of discovery was not a single moment, but a gradual brightening. After Galileo came others. Tycho Brahe mapping stars with unprecedented precision from his observatory under clear northern skies. Johannes Kepler deciphering that planets move in ellipses, not perfect circles, as they orbit the sun. Kepler even mused about a harmony in the celestial motions, trying to hear the music of the spheres through mathematics. And further on, Isaac Newton in England, sitting quietly in a garden, realized that the force pulling an apple to the ground was the very same force that keeps the moon circling Earth and Earth circling the sun. Gravity, a simple yet profound bond that unites the heavens and Earth in one explanation, was finally understood. Newton's work tied together the motions of planets and the falling of objects on Earth, completing the picture that Copernicus and Galileo had begun. It's remarkable to think that within a few generations, humanity went from gazing at stars and weaving myths to actually comprehending the laws that govern them. But we should remember, knowledge did not strip away wonder. It added to it. Now when people looked up, those who knew began to see not just mythic figures, but also distant suns and worlds, and to grasp the incredible scale of the cosmos. By the 18th century, astronomers like William Herschel and his sister Caroline were cataloguing thousands of stars and nebulae, even discovering a new planet, Uranus, beyond Saturn. They tried to map the Milky Way's shape, realizing our sun was just one star among countless others in a vast disk. One can picture a scene in the late 1700s. William Herschel in his garden observatory on a crisp night in England, sweeping the sky with his large homemade telescope. The stars reflect in his eyes as he notes each faint smudge of nebula or cluster. Not far away, his sister records the observations, both of them awed by each new find. On another night, perhaps a family sits on their farmhouse porch in America, looking up. The father, who has read the latest pamphlets on astronomy, points out Mars glowing red and explains to his curious daughter that it's a world not unlike our own, perhaps with its own landscapes. Then the mother, who loves lore, tells the child how Mars was named for an ancient god of war, and people once thought its redness meant it was drenched in cosmic fire or blood. The child listens to both tales, the scientific and the mythic, each enriching her imagination. She goes to bed, dreaming not only of Martian deserts, but also of fiery chariots in the sky. In her young mind, knowledge and legend dance together like old friends under the stars. As the light of understanding grew, the cosmos only became more intriguing. Answering one question raised many new ones. What were stars really made of? How far away were they? Could there be other Milky Ways, other galaxies, beyond our own? The dawn gave way to day, and the exploration continued with ever more fervour. But at this gentle moment in our story, as we look back on the dawn of discovery, we find ourselves in a place of balance. The sky that was once solely the realm of myth had become a place we could begin to measure and comprehend, yet it never lost its majesty. A person could learn about the moons of Jupiter by day and still go out at night and be moved to silence by the beauty of Jupiter shining among the stars. It's comforting to realize that even after all these leaps of knowledge, the night sky remains what it was to the ancients, a source of inspiration and solace. Science brought us understanding, but the emotional impact of the stars did not diminish. For every astronomer mapping a nebula, there was a poet writing an ode to the night. For every problem solved with a telescope, there was a child making a wish on a shooting star. The two ways of seeing, through analytic eyes and through imaginative eyes, only made the night richer and more meaningful. Now, as our narrative comes to a pause, imagine yourself lying down once more under that vast expanse of sky. The ancient stories whisper around you like a soft breeze, and the newfound knowledge glimmers like the stars themselves. The night is deep and tranquil. The cosmos above remains grand and full of enigmas, but we are no longer lost in it. We are at home, under its canopy. We have befriended the sky through both our tales and our curiosity. Our journey through galactic enigmas has only begun. There are many more mysteries ahead, many wonders left to explore. But for now, it is enough to simply float in this moment of connection with the cosmos. Let your breathing slow as you picture the Earth turning gently under the stars. We are all travelers on a small planet sailing through space. But the stars make it feel like a familiar neighborhood with friends shining down. As the night grows late, the constellations continue their slow dance. The Great Bear circles, Orion hunts, the Milky Way arches overhead, all as it has for ages. In this peaceful state, you can drift into sleep, cradled by the same sky that comforted our ancestors. The stars blink softly like distant lanterns, and the Milky Way glows like a celestial river embracing the dark. You are safe, and you are part of this vast, beautiful universe. Let the stars guide your dreams tonight, as they guided the dreams of those who came long before. And as you sleep, may you feel the gentle bond we all share with the night sky, an endless source of wonder, guiding us from the days beneath ancient skies to the dawn of each new discovery. In the silent depths of space, there are places where light surrenders to darkness. These are cosmic abysses of unfathomable gravity, where a star's final breath gives birth to a mystery. Imagine a star, far more massive than our sun, burning brightly for millions of years. Eventually, it exhausts its nuclear fuel and can no longer resist the pull of its own gravity. The star collapses in on itself, imploding catastrophically. In that moment, an extraordinary transformation occurs. The core of the star is crushed into a single point
of almost infinite density. All the matter that once shone with brilliant light is now packed into a realm of darkness. A black hole is born. This newborn black hole is a region unlike any other in the universe.
At its heart lies a hidden singularity, a point where the familiar laws of physics falter under unimaginable pressure. Surrounding this heart of darkness is the event horizon, a boundary that marks the point of no return. It is an invisible threshold in space beyond which nothing can escape. No particle, no ray of light, no information. Anything that crosses this boundary vanishes from the observable universe as if it were erased from existence. Black holes live up to their eerie name. They emit no light of their own. If one drifts in the void, quiet and alone, it is essentially invisible. Only by the havoc they wreak on their surroundings can we infer their presence. When matter strays too close, the black hole's gravity snatches it with ferocious force. Gas and dust from a nearby star may swirl toward the black hole, spiraling inwards like water down a drain. As it does, it forms a whirling accretion disk around the black hole, heated to extreme temperatures. This disk glows fiercely in X-rays and other high-energy light. In an ironic twist, some of the brightest objects in the sky, like quasars, are powered by the darkest of objects, as matter lighting up just before being consumed by a black hole. Stray too close to a black hole, and the consequences are dire. A star wandering near will be pulled apart, stretched and shredded in a process poetically known as spaghettification. Even planets and entire solar systems can be disrupted by a massive black hole's gravitational grip. The forces at play defy ordinary comprehension. If an unlucky traveller were to fall towards a black hole feet first, the difference in gravity between their feet and head would stretch their body into a thin strand. This gentle-sounding spaghettification would be lethal long before the traveller ever reached the event horizon. To any outside observer, as the traveller approaches the event horizon, time itself would appear to slow. The traveller would seem to freeze at the edge, their final moments of light stretched and reddened, fading slowly from view. But from the traveller's own perspective, they would plunge onward, crossing into darkness, never to return or communicate back. Time and space bend in the presence of a black hole. Einstein's theory of general relativity predicted these bizarre effects over a century ago, when black holes were mere theoretical curiosities. Few believed such strange objects could really exist. Yet over time, evidence began to mount that the universe indeed harbours these gravitational traps. Today, we know black holes are not just theoretical, they are real, and some are outrageously massive. At the centre of nearly every large galaxy, including our own Milky Way, lurks a supermassive black hole containing millions or even billions of times the mass of our Sun. These behemoths act as cosmic anchors, their gravity influencing the orbits of stars in the galactic core. In fact, it was by observing stars whipping around an invisible object in the Milky Way's centre that astronomers confirmed the presence of our galaxy's own central black hole. a monster about 4 million solar masses. Though shrouded in darkness, black holes can announce themselves through their dramatic interactions. When two black holes collide and merge, they send out ripples through the fabric of space-time known as gravitational waves. In recent years, detectors on Earth have heard these waves, the faint echoes of distant black hole mergers. It was a whisper from deep space, a fleeting change in distance smaller than an atom that confirmed another prediction of Einstein and revealed that black holes were dancing and merging in the far-off cosmos. Each detection is a cosmic event, a brief vibration that tells the story of unimaginable forces at play. One of the most groundbreaking moments in our study of black holes came when humans finally managed to capture an image of one. In 2019, the Event Horizon Telescope, a network of radio observatories spanning the globe, focused on a bright galaxy in the Virgo cluster known as M87. There, at the galaxy's core, lies a supermassive black hole, billions of times the mass of the Sun. The telescopes worked in unison to capture the faint, silhouetted outline of the black hole's event horizon against the glowing maelstrom of its accretion disk. The result was an image that stunned the world. A fuzzy, glowing ring of light surrounding a circular, dark shadow. We were gazing at the apparent silhouette of a black hole, seeing the unseeable. It was a moment when a theoretical concept became tangibly real, an abyss revealed not by the light it emitted, but by the light it devoured. This monumental image and other observations have taught us much, yet black holes remain deeply enigmatic. Their very existence poses questions that cut to the core of physics. At the singularity hidden inside, densities become infinite, and known physical laws break down. We cannot yet describe that extreme environment. Quantum physics and gravity, normally separate realms, must unite to fully understand what happens there. Black holes are a laboratory for the most extreme physics in the universe, and in their presence we are confronted by our own intellectual limits. Stephen Hawking once proposed that black holes might slowly evaporate over time, emitting faint Hawking radiation due to quantum effects at the event horizon. If true, the largest black holes would take trillions of years to evaporate, far longer than the current age of the universe. It's a strange thought. These voracious giants may eventually vanish, whispering away their mass particle by particle back into the cosmos. From stellar mass black holes, only a few times heavier than our Sun, to supermassive ones anchoring galaxies. These cosmic abysses display nature's capacity for both destruction and creation. They can wreak havoc on their surroundings, yet they also help shape galaxies by regulating star formation through their energetic outbursts. Their jets, narrow beams of particles and energy that can shoot out from the poles of a spinning black hole's accretion disk, can extend for thousands of light years, seeding interstellar space with energy and matter. In these ways, black holes, paradoxically, can have a hand in fostering new stars, even as they destroy others. Imagine standing safely at a great distance, watching a black hole in action. You might see a star venture too near a supermassive black hole at a galaxy's center. Over years, the star would be torn apart, its remnants swirling into a disk, heating up and shining brilliantly before vanishing from view. You witness a battle of light and darkness, where gravity ultimately wins. Yet, beyond the light of such cataclysmic events, lies an even greater darkness inside the hole. What happens to everything that falls in? Does it remain crushed at the center forever? Or could it be that plunging into a black hole leads elsewhere, to some other region of space and time? Such questions sound like science fiction, but they arise naturally from the extreme nature of black holes. Some theorists have speculated that black holes might be gateways to other universes or different parts of our own through hypothetical tunnels in space-time called wormholes. These ideas remain speculative, a mix of mathematics and imagination, because we have no way to peek inside a black hole and learn the truth. What we do know is that black holes are an essential part of our cosmos. They are born in death and darkness, yet influence the shining galaxies around them. They challenge our understanding of reality, blurring the line between science fact and science fiction, and they remind us of the universe's capacity for extremes, of scale, of gravity, of the bending of space and time. In the cosmic night, a black hole is the ultimate enigma, a riddle wrapped in darkness, an abyss that beckons us to peer over the edge without ever being able to see what lies within. It stands as one of the most intriguing mysteries of the cosmos, both terrifying and sublime. Our journey now moves from these visible voids of immense gravity to another kind of cosmic mystery, one that is all around us, invisible and elusive. If black holes are darkness we can pinpoint, there is also a pervasive dark presence we cannot see, yet it holds galaxies together. Leaving behind the abyss of the black hole, we now search the cosmic landscape for traces of an invisible mass that fills the universe. The enigma of dark matter. In the grand cosmic tapestry, a subtle thread holds the fabric of galaxies together, yet this thread is invisible. Decades ago, astronomers began to notice a curious discrepancy when observing galaxies. Stars at the outer edges of spiral galaxies were moving far faster than expected, as if pulled by the gravity of far more matter than what could be seen. Something unseen was exerting an enormous gravitational influence. It was as though an invisible halo surrounded each galaxy, adding mass and tugging on the stars. This was our first solid hint of a vast cosmic secret, the existence of dark matter. Dark matter, despite its name, is not like the darkness of a black hole. It isn't an object that light cannot escape from, but rather a form of matter that simply does not emit or absorb light at all. It neither shines nor casts a shadow. It is transparent and hidden, yet it outweighs all the stars and planets we can see. By the estimates of cosmologists, this dark matter outweighs normal visible matter 5 times over.
If we could somehow see it, our night sky would be filled not just with stars and glowing nebulae, but with immense halos surrounding galaxies, sprawling filaments stretching across the universe, marking where this invisible mass resides. The story of dark matter's discovery is a tale of astronomy detective work. In the 1930s, an astronomer named Fritz Zwicky studied a distant cluster of galaxies and found the galaxies were moving faster than they should, given the visible mass in the cluster. He proposed that some kind of dunkel materia, German for dark matter, provided the extra gravity to hold the cluster together. His ideas were largely overlooked at the time. Decades later, in the 1970s, Vera Rubin and her colleagues observed the rotation of spiral galaxies like Andromeda.
They too found that the outer stars orbited at almost the same speed as stars closer to the centre. According to Newtonian physics, stars at a galaxy's edge should move more slowly if most of the mass is concentrated in the visible core. But these stars weren't slowing down at the outskirts. Something unseen was boosting their orbital speeds. One by one, observations of many galaxies painted the same picture. The concept of dark matter gained traction as the most plausible explanation. As evidence mounted, scientists realized that dark matter isn't just an odd quirk of a few galaxies. It is woven into the very structure of the cosmos. Galaxies like our Milky Way are enveloped in enormous halos of dark matter that extend well beyond the visible stars. These halos provide the gravitational glue that holds galaxies together. Without dark matter's extra gravity, the fast-spinning outer stars of galaxies would fly off into space, and galaxy clusters would disperse. On even larger scales, dark matter served as the scaffold of the universe. In the early universe, it clumped together under its own gravity, forming a cosmic web of filaments and nodes. Ordinary matter, composed of atoms, fell into the gravitational wells created by this dark matter framework, eventually igniting to form stars and galaxies. In a sense, the luminous universe we observe, the glittering galaxies and glowing nebulae, took shape within structures built by dark matter. Today, computer simulations of cosmic evolution underscore the importance of dark matter. When astrophysicists include dark matter in their models, the simulated universe shows galaxies and clusters arranged in filaments and sheets, much like we see in reality. Without dark matter, those simulations cannot recreate the universe we observe. The imprint of dark matter's influence is also written on the oldest light in existence, the cosmic microwave background. Tiny fluctuations in that afterglow reveal patterns consistent with a cosmos dominated by dark matter, gravitating invisibly alongside normal matter. All evidence, from galaxy rotations to the clustering of galaxies in space, points to dark matter's profound presence. Yet, despite its abundance, its true nature remains one of the deepest mysteries in science, we have clues about what dark matter is not. It is not made of the same atoms that form stars, planets, and people. It doesn't consist of protons, neutrons, and electrons assembling into familiar elements. All the ordinary matter, every bit of material we experience, accounts for only a small fraction of the universe's total mass. The rest is dark matter, plus an even more mysterious component we have yet to discuss. Scientists have proposed various hypotheses for the nature of dark matter. One leading idea is that it could be a new kind of elementary particle, unlike any known particle in our current physics. These hypothetical particles have whimsical names like WIMPs, weakly interacting massive particles, or axions. They would have mass and exert gravity, but they barely interact with light or normal matter, making them essentially invisible and able to pass through ordinary material almost without a trace. To hunt for these elusive particles, researchers have built incredibly sensitive experiments. Deep underground, in mines and beneath mountains, large detectors filled with ultra-pure liquids or chilled crystals lie in wait, shielded from cosmic rays and other background noise. They listen for the faintest whisper of a dark matter particle colliding with an atomic nucleus. If one of these ghostly particles strikes the detector, it might create a tiny flash of light or a subtle vibration, an almost imperceptible signal of a cosmic visitor. So far, no definitive dark matter particle has been detected, but the search is intensifying. With each passing year, these experiments become more sensitive, and new ones are devised. At the same time, physicists at giant particle colliders, like the Large Hadron Collider, have been looking for hints of dark matter in high-energy collisions. They search for signs such as missing energy and momentum that could indicate a particle was produced and slipped away undetected. The continued absence of a clear signal only deepens the mystery. Perhaps dark matter particles are even more elusive than we imagined. Or perhaps we need new ideas to understand them. Beyond particles, some have wondered if dark matter could be something even stranger. Could some of it be tied to black holes? Maybe in the tumultuous moments after the Big Bang, small black holes formed, so-called primordial black holes, that still drift through galaxies, dark and unseen. These could act like dark matter. However, observations have not found evidence for enough of these tiny black holes to account for the vast amount of dark matter required. Another idea is that our understanding of gravity might be incomplete. Maybe, just maybe, there is no dark matter at all, and instead, gravity behaves differently on galaxy scales than we expect. A few theories modify gravity to try to explain the motions of stars without invoking invisible mass. Yet, so far, none of these alternatives can match the wealth of evidence that points to dark matter's existence. The simplest explanation remains that most of the matter in the universe is something we have yet to identify. It's staggering to consider that the majority of matter in the cosmos is invisible and unknown. Imagine looking at the beautiful spiral of a galaxy in the night sky. You see its glittering stars and glowing clouds of gas. Now realize that encircling that galaxy is a vast halo of dark matter, clear as glass, yet heavy and real, extending far beyond the visible edge. Even between galaxies, this dark matter forms a faint framework, a spiderweb on which the bright galaxies are strung like dewdrops. We find ourselves in a universe where we are aware of this immense presence, and yet cannot touch or see it directly. It's a reminder of how much we still have to learn. Dark matter's existence is also a key to our own story. Without it, our galaxy might not have formed in the way it did, and life might not have had a stable home in which to arise. We live in the Milky Way, a galaxy whose structure and longevity have been shaped in part by the gravitational embrace of dark matter. In our everyday lives, we don't notice dark matter. It doesn't interact with us in a way we can feel. But when we step back and look at the cosmos as a whole, we see its fingerprints everywhere. The quest to understand dark matter continues to drive scientists to innovate and explore. Astronomers map the distribution of dark matter by observing how its gravity bends the light from distant galaxies, a technique known as gravitational lensing. Physicists push the boundaries of detector technology, trying to catch the faintest of signals. It is one of the greatest scientific detective stories of our time. We have the clues that dark matter is out there, but we have yet to solve the case. And incredibly, dark matter is only part of the picture. It constitutes roughly a quarter of the universe's contents. The ordinary matter we know is a mere 5%. The remaining majority, about 68%, is something even more confounding. If dark matter is the hidden scaffold holding galaxies together, this other component is like an unseen force pulling the universe apart. Having delved into the secret mass that binds the cosmos, we now turn to the invisible energy that is causing the cosmos to expand ever faster, the mystery of dark energy. In the late 20th century, astronomers thought they had a grasp on the universe's expansion. Ever since Edwin Hubble's observations in the 1920s showed that galaxies are flying away from each other, the assumption was that this expansion should be slowing down over time. After all, the collective gravity of all matter in the universe ought to be tugging everything back inward, gradually decelerating the expansion that began with the Big Bang. But when astronomers set out to measure this expected slowdown in the 1990s, they were in for a shock. Two independent teams of researchers studied distant exploding stars called Type Ia supernovae, which serve as reliable beacons for measuring cosmic distances. These supernovae, observed in galaxies billions of light years away, revealed something astonishing. They were dimmer than expected, fainter than they should have been if the universe's expansion was slowing down. This implied that those supernovae were farther away than anticipated, meaning the expansion of the universe has not been decelerating. Instead, it has been speeding up. The only explanation that fit was that some mysterious force is pushing the cosmos apart, overcoming the pull of gravity on large scales. This profound discovery led scientists to propose an unknown form of energy permeating space, an energy that acts in the opposite way of gravity. They called it dark energy. The term dark doesn't signify darkness in the visual sense, but rather reflects our ignorance of its nature. Dark energy seems to be an intrinsic property of space itself, a kind of built-in energy that causes space to expand. As more space comes into existence with the expansion, more dark energy would appear, leading to an ever-increasing push. In effect, dark energy behaves like a repulsive force, almost like anti-gravity, driving galaxies apart at faster and faster speeds. The idea of a repulsive force in the universe was not entirely without precedent. Early in the 20th century, when Albert Einstein formulated general relativity, he included a term in his equations called the cosmological constant, a sort of mathematical fix to allow for a static universe by balancing gravity. When evidence emerged that the universe was expanding, Einstein abandoned this term, reportedly calling it his biggest blunder. Ironically, the discovery of cosmic acceleration resurrected a concept, much like Einstein's cosmological constant. It turns out, a form of repulsive energy is needed to explain the observations, and dark energy can be thought of as a modern take on Einstein's forgotten constant, a uniform energy of space itself. Today, we know that dark energy is by far the dominant component of the universe. About 68% of the universe's total energy content is dark energy. Dark matter makes up roughly 27%, and the ordinary matter, everything we see, from galaxies and stars to planets and people, is only about 5%. In other words, the majority of the cosmos is controlled by this mysterious dark energy. It's as if we only recently realized that an overwhelming ocean current has been carrying us along, unseen, until we noticed its effects on distant shores. What exactly is dark energy? That question remains one of the greatest puzzles in science. One leading hypothesis is that dark energy is a property of the vacuum itself, the energy of empty space. Quantum physics tells us that even in a perfect vacuum, particles and antiparticles are constantly flickering into and out of existence, and fields have a baseline energy. However, when physicists attempt to calculate the energy of the vacuum using our best theories, the result overshoots reality by an absurd amount, many orders of magnitude too high. Something is clearly not adding up. Either our theories are incomplete, or some mechanism cancels out most of this vacuum energy. Dark energy, as observed, is incredibly small in density, yet dominates because space is so vast. Why it has the value it does, and not something wildly different, is a deep mystery. Another possibility is that dark energy is not constant at all, but rather the effect of a new field or force that changes over time. Some call this idea quintessence, imagining a dynamic energy field filling space that can evolve. If that were true, dark energy might have been different in the past and could change in the future. So far, though, every observation has been consistent with dark energy being constant, acting the same everywhere, at all times, like a fixed property of the universe. The jury is still out, but if dark energy does vary, it does so very slowly or in very subtle ways that we haven't detected. We perceive dark energy's handiwork in the accelerating expansion of the universe. Billions of years ago, gravity reigned supreme, and the expansion was slowing down. But as galaxies moved farther apart, the influence of dark energy grew and eventually took over. For the last few billion years, dark energy has been the dominant factor governing the expansion. The result is that the universe is blowing up like an inflating balloon with ever-increasing speed. Distant galaxies we see today will appear to recede faster and faster as time goes on. Looking far into the future, dark energy suggests a universe that becomes ever more lonely on the grand scale. If the expansion continues to accelerate indefinitely, we can imagine a time trillions of years from now when distant galaxies are rushing away so fast that their light no longer reaches us. One by one, galaxies beyond our local group will vanish from visibility beyond the horizon of our observable universe. The night sky, far in the future, could be nearly empty, with only the stars of our Milky Way or its merged remnants, and a few neighbouring galaxies in view. Future intelligent beings in that distant time might look out and see nothing but darkness beyond their own galaxy, with no hint of the wider cosmos that once was visible. This illustrates the truly mind-bending implications of dark energy. It shapes not only the history of the universe, but its future and the fate of all cosmic structures. The discovery of dark energy has revolutionized cosmology, forcing us to accept that the universe's expansion is under the influence of something profound that we do not yet understand. In response, scientists around the globe have been undertaking ambitious observations to learn more. They measure the brightness and redshifts of distant supernovae across different epochs of cosmic time. They map the distribution of galaxies to see how cosmic structures grow under the push of dark energy. They scrutinize the subtle fluctuations in the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of the Big Bang, for clues about the universe's composition and evolution. Upcoming and ongoing space missions and telescopes designed to probe dark energy are striving to pin down its properties more precisely. Is dark energy truly constant, or does it change? Does it interact in any way with matter or light, other than through gravity? So far, the answers have only reinforced the simplest explanation. Dark energy behaves very much like Einstein's cosmological constant, the invisible hand accelerating the cosmos. For physicists, dark energy is both a frustration and a tantalizing hint. It may well be the harbinger of new physics, something that requires a breakthrough to understand. We have on the one hand general relativity, Einstein's theory that so beautifully describes gravity on large scales. On the other hand, we have quantum mechanics, which governs the world of particles and fields. Dark energy sits at the crossroads of these two, possibly pointing toward a unification of concepts or an entirely new phenomenon that neither theory alone can explain. Solving the riddle of dark energy could lead to new insights into the birth and ultimate fate of the universe, and perhaps reveal connections between the very large cosmic scale and the very small quantum scale that we never imagined. The presence of dark energy in our universe is a humbling reminder that the cosmos still holds secrets of staggering significance. Just a few decades ago, we didn't even know it existed. Now it defines our cosmic outlook. It propels us, literally, by stretching space, and intellectually, by compelling us to find answers. Dark energy is a gentle whisper on cosmic scales, yet with time its effects become monumental. While dark energy's influence is exerted over billions of years, not all cosmic mysteries are so gradual and stately. Some announce themselves in brief, intense flashes, in phenomena that are here and gone in the blink of an eye, leaving us just as puzzled. In recent years, astronomers have encountered one such enigma: sudden bursts of radio waves that last for mere milliseconds, coming from distant galaxies. We leave behind the steady push of dark energy and turn our attention to these startling signals from the unknown, these cosmic flashbulbs in the sky, known as fast radio bursts. Imagine scanning the sky with the giant radio dish, listening to the background murmur of the cosmos, when suddenly a powerful blast of radio waves washes over the detector. A burst so brief it's gone in the blink of an eye. That's what happened in 2007, when astronomers, poring over data from a radio telescope in Australia, discovered an incredibly bright, split-second flash of radio energy. It appeared out of nowhere in the data, lasting only a few milliseconds, and then the sky returned to its usual quiet. This mysterious signal seemed to come from the distant universe, far beyond our galaxy. At first, the researchers were astonished and a bit skeptical. Could it have been a glitch? Perhaps some stray human-made radio interference, or a malfunction of the equipment? But the characteristics of the signal, how it dispersed or spread out in frequency as it arrived, hinted that it had travelled across billions of light-years of intergalactic space. This was something new, something astrophysical and real, and it was utterly unexpected. The event was dubbed a fast radio burst, or FRB, and it opened a new chapter in cosmic mysteries. Once scientists recognized that this bizarre burst in the 2007 data was genuine, they began to search for similar signals in other datasets. Before long, more FRBs were found. These bursts turned up as lone spikes in radio telescope recordings, each a sudden, strong blip of radio waves, often with a telltale dispersion pattern indicating a long journey through the cosmos. Over the past decade and a half, astronomers have detected hundreds of FRBs coming from all different directions in the sky. Most last only a few milliseconds and then fade away, never to be seen again from that same spot. In those milliseconds, an FRB can release as much energy as our sun does in many years. They are extraordinarily powerful events on a very tiny timescale. Catching these bursts is challenging because they are unpredictable and brief. Early on, each FRB was found after the fact, in recorded data, like noticing a lightning strike only by looking at a photograph after the storm. Radio observatories were not initially set up to respond in real time to something so fleeting. Astronomers likened it to hearing a pin drop in a room full of noise. You had to get lucky to be listening at just the right place and time. But as evidence of FRBs mounted, dedicated efforts were made to find more. New algorithms were developed to scan streaming data for the characteristic signatures of an FRB, and telescopes around the world began joining the hunt. One of the breakthroughs in understanding FRBs came when a few of them were caught repeating. In 2012, an FRB was detected that, unlike the others, later flashed again and again. This was a game changer. If a burst repeats, it allows astronomers to point other telescopes at that region of sky, hoping to catch subsequent bursts and perhaps identify a counterpart at other wavelengths, like visible light, X-rays, etc. In the case of that first repeater, astronomers eventually managed to pinpoint its source, a tiny dwarf galaxy more than 3 billion light-years away. This was confirmation that FRBs truly are extragalactic phenomena. The repeating nature also hinted that whatever was causing that particular FRB was not a one-time cataclysm, like a star exploding, but something that survived to burst again. Despite these advances, the origins of FRBs remain an area of active investigation and debate. The most widely supported theory centers on a type of neutron star called a magnetar. Neutron stars are the ultra-dense cores left behind when massive stars explode. They pack more mass than the Sun into a sphere only a dozen miles across. Some neutron stars have incredibly strong magnetic fields, trillions of times stronger than Earth's magnetic field. These are magnetars. Magnetars occasionally undergo sudden releases of energy when their magnetic fields twist or snap in starquakes, and they are known to produce high-energy bursts of X-rays and gamma rays. It's plausible that they could also emit powerful radio bursts under the right conditions. In fact, in April 2020, a magnetar in our own Milky Way galaxy produced a brief radio burst that was much fainter than the distant FRBs, but still strong enough to be detected and recognized as similar in character. That event provided a crucial link. It showed that magnetars can indeed create fast radio bursts, at least on a smaller scale, lending weight to the idea that distant magnetars could be responsible for the extragalactic FRBs. However, not all FRBs may be the same. Some FRBs have never been observed to repeat, suggesting they might come from cataclysmic one-off events, while others repeat often, or even show patterns of activity. One FRB was found to have a periodic cycle of bursting, active for a few days, then silent for a few weeks, then active again, implying something in its environment or its rotation might be modulating the bursts. This diversity hints that there might be multiple causes of FRBs. Other scenarios astronomers have proposed include the collision of compact objects, like two neutron stars merging, which is also thought to produce a burst of gamma rays, or the evaporation of a primordial black hole. Each hypothesis must account for the staggering energy of FRBs and their short duration, and ideally also explain why some repeat. With each new detection, astronomers learn a bit more. The way FRB signals travel can tell us about the intervening cosmic material. As radio waves journey billions of light years, they pass through intergalactic plasma, which causes a dispersion. Lower frequency waves get delayed more than higher frequency ones. By measuring this effect, scientists can gauge the amount of material the burst passed through, effectively using FRBs as probes of the space between galaxies. Already, FRBs are helping to solve long-standing questions, like locating the universe's missing ordinary matter. Not dark matter, but diffuse gas that's hard to detect. The bursts arrive with signatures that allow researchers to estimate how much invisible gas lies in intergalactic space. In this way, FRBs are not just mysterious signals to decipher. They have become tools for observing the universe. Still, the central mystery remains. What astrophysical process launches such intense bolts of radio energy? As more FRBs are observed, patterns may emerge that point clearly to one cause or multiple causes. If magnetars are behind most FRBs, we might catch more associations with known magnetars, or see other clues like X-ray flashes. If collisions are responsible for the non-repeating FRBs, perhaps one day an FRB will be caught coinciding with a gravitational wave event, since merging neutron stars produce gravitational waves. The field is young, and surprises could lie ahead. It's worth noting how FRBs capture the imagination beyond pure science as well. Whenever we detect unexplained signals from the cosmos, a thought naturally arises. Could it be someone out there, an intelligent source, trying to communicate or inadvertently signaling their presence? With FRBs, this idea has been floated, often in media or popular discussions, as a tantalizing possibility. Some have speculated that perhaps an FRB could be a sign of an alien civilization, maybe the powerful energy beam of a propulsion system, or a communication we happen to overhear. The vast majority of scientists approach this with healthy skepticism, attributing FRBs to extreme natural phenomena. There is no evidence linking FRBs to artificial origins, and the patterns or randomness of their occurrence don't obviously point to structured communication. Nonetheless, the fact that FRBs exist at all shows that the universe is capable of phenomena that would have seemed like science fiction. And it reminds us that if we ever were to detect a signal from another intelligent species, it might initially be just as confounding as FRBs were, and still are. Our growing catalogue of fast radio bursts serves as a reminder of how much we still have to learn about the universe. Here are these brilliant flashes of energy that for most of human history were completely unknown, and even now, after their discovery, they challenge the limits of our understanding. Not so long ago, gamma-ray bursts, flashes of high-energy gamma rays, were a similar mystery, and it took decades to pinpoint their origins, collapsing stars and merging neutron stars, depending on the type. FRBs could be on a similar journey from perplexing discovery to eventual explanation. With new arrays of radio telescopes coming online, like the Square Kilometre Array in the future, and current ones like CHIME and ASCAP, Australian Square Kilometre Array Pathfinder, scanning the skies, the rate of FRB discovery is rising steeply. We may soon have thousands of examples, and among them, the clues needed to crack the case. Standing under a starry sky at night, we see the silent twinkling of distant suns. We might imagine the universe as quiet and serene, but in the radio part of the spectrum, the sky crackles with activity, and among the chatter are these sporadic, powerful bursts we've only just begun to notice. They are like cosmic lightning, flickering in remote clouds of the universe, telling us that dramatic events are happening out there in the dark. They urge us to listen more closely and to keep our minds open to the unexpected. The mystery of fast radio bursts bridges the gap between the cosmic and the human in a poetic way. It's a detective story written across billions of light years, with us Earthlings only now learning how to read its clues. It invokes both awe at the natural processes that can generate such power in an instant, and a sense of connection to the cosmos, as if these bursts are little greetings or exclamations from faraway places, reminding us that we are part of a vast and dynamic universe. The tantalizing nature of FRBs leads us to ponder the broader question of life and intelligence in the universe as well. If something as remarkable as an FRB can occur naturally, what other marvels might exist out there? And if, someday, we did receive a bona fide signal from an intelligent civilization, Would we even recognize it at first? Or would it mystify us, just as these bursts have? FRBs are a humbling clue that there is so much we have yet to comprehend. Long before the era of radio telescopes, humanity looked at the stars and wondered about beings that might dwell among them or travel between them. We have always been storytellers, weaving myths of sky gods and celestial messengers. Now, having explored these modern radio signals that spark thoughts of cosmic company, we turn our gaze from the mysteries of the present to mysteries of the past. Could it be that in ancient times, visitors from the stars actually came to Earth? It's a controversial and speculative idea, but one that has captured the imagination of many. Our journey now shifts to examine the legends and theories of ancient astronauts. The notion that extraterrestrial beings might have touched human civilization in ages long gone. For as long as humans have gazed up at the night sky, we have imagined beings descending from the heavens. Almost every culture has stories of gods or celestial beings who come down to Earth, sometimes to create or instruct, sometimes to play and interfere in human lives. In modern times, some have reinterpreted these ancient tales in a literal way, suggesting that perhaps those gods were not gods at all, but visitors from other planets. This is the core of the ancient astronaut hypothesis, the idea that extraterrestrial travelers might have made contact with humans in antiquity, leaving their mark on our cultures. Proponents of this theory point to various puzzling aspects of ancient civilizations. They often start with architectural wonders. Take the Great Pyramid of Giza, for example. Built over 4,000 years ago, it remained the tallest human-made structure on Earth for millennia. Even today, we marvel at its construction. Huge blocks of stone, some weighing as much as 80 tons, quarried and transported and lifted into place with astonishing precision. How did the ancient Egyptians accomplish this with primitive tools and no machines? While archaeologists have put forth many plausible methods involving ramps, sledges, and sheer human labour, ancient astronaut theorists wonder if there was outside assistance. They note the pyramid's precise alignment to true north and its internal design, and speculate whether advanced knowledge, beyond what we credit the ancients for, was imparted by visitors with superior technology. Then there are the Nazca lines in Peru, a series of enormous geoglyphs scratched into the desert floor around 1,500 to 2,000 years ago. From ground level, they mostly look like lines or pathways, but seen from the air, they form clear shapes. A monkey, a spider, a hummingbird, and hundreds of geometric patterns. The mystery is obvious. Why create art on such a gigantic scale that the artists themselves could never properly view it? While researchers believe the Nazca people made them for ritualistic or astronomical reasons, perhaps as offerings to their gods, or to appeal for water in the arid land, ancient astronaut enthusiasts propose a different use. They imagine these lines might have been runways or signals for alien spacecraft, an ancient airfield or message board for visitors from above. The very idea is speculative, of course, but the weirdly grand scale of the Nazca lines invites creative interpretations. In many other ancient sites, similar questions are raised. On the remote Easter Island in the Pacific, hundreds of giant stone statues called moai stand facing inland,
as if watching over the island's people. Each statue is hewn from volcanic rock, weighing tens of tons. The islanders, with only stone tools and no draft animals, somehow quarried these behemoths, moved them kilometers across the island, and erected them on platforms. Legends say the Moai walked with the help of mana, spiritual power.
Modern experiments have shown that with ropes and many people, the statues could be walked upright in a rocking motion. But it's still a staggering achievement for a small, isolated population. Those inclined to the ancient astronaut idea muse. Did they have help from elsewhere? Or were they perhaps making these statues in honor of visitors from the sky? High in the Andes of Bolivia lies Puma Punku, part of the ancient Tiwanaku site. Here, massive stone blocks, some weighing over 100 tons, lie scattered as if a great structure was shattered. What intrigues people are the precise cuts and drill-like holes in these andesite stones. They fit together in complex interlocking forms, almost like a 3D puzzle. How did a culture over 1,000 years ago achieve such precision? Some suggest they had techniques or tools that have been lost to time. Others whisper that perhaps those tools weren't of this earth. Could ancient people have been taught stone cutting by alien engineers, or even handed down some advanced equipment? It sounds far-fetched, yet Puma Punku's ruins often feature in debates on what ancient humans were capable of. Looking beyond structures, proponents of the ancient astronaut theory also examine historical texts and artwork for clues. They comb through mythologies and religious texts, pointing out descriptions that might be interpreted as encounters with alien technology. The Indian Sanskrit epics, for instance, speak of vimanas, flying chariots of the gods that could travel among the stars and even engage in aerial battles using what sound like powerful weapons. To a modern eye, some passages describing these vimanas read almost like science fiction, with details of propulsion and beams of light. Could these stories be poetic memories of something real, or are they purely products of imagination? Similarly, certain medieval and Renaissance artworks include odd sky-borne objects that resemble modern depictions of UFOs, though art historians typically explain these as symbolic religious imagery. Among the most famous oft-cited examples is a carving on the sarcophagus lid of the Maya ruler Pacal in Palenque, Mexico. To some, Pacal is depicted in a reclining pose that looks as if he's piloting a rocket, complete with flames and controls, an iconic image frequently shown in ancient astronaut literature. Mainstream archaeologists interpret it differently. Pacal is falling into the underworld, surrounded by Maya symbology like the world tree and celestial elements. But the spacecraft interpretation captures the imagination. Likewise, ancient Egyptian art that shows what appear to be cone-like or disc-like objects have been subject to speculative interpretation, though most of those have been debunked as either misunderstood symbols or even smudges and damaged hieroglyphs that only look like flying machines to the modern eye. Another story that often arises in these discussions is that of the Dogon people of Mali. In the mid-20th century, some researchers reported that the Dogon had traditional knowledge of Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, including the fact that Sirius has a faint companion star, now known as Sirius B, that is invisible to the naked eye. The Dogon supposedly knew details about this companion that would be astonishing without telescopes. This was seized upon as evidence that perhaps their knowledge was imparted by someone who did know, maybe visitors from the Sirius star system itself. However, later investigations suggested that some information might have been passed to the Dogon by modern people prior to the anthropologist's arrival, casting doubt on the sensational interpretation. Nonetheless, the tale has become part of ancient astronaut lore, illustrating the theme of advanced knowledge in ancient times with no clear origin. To balance the narrative, it's important to note that mainstream science does not support the ancient astronaut hypothesis. Archaeologists and historians find human explanations for the wonders of the past. They see evidence of the evolution of techniques, how quarrying methods improved, how communities organized labor, how trial and error and human ingenuity left traces we can follow. They don't invoke aliens because there is no direct evidence for them, no anomalous artifacts that unmistakably show advanced technology out of place in time. The ancient astronaut idea often underestimates the capabilities and creativity of our ancestors. It can sometimes be seen as even diminishing human accomplishments by attributing them to aliens. Scholars often caution that while it's fun to speculate, we must give credit to the people of antiquity for their achievements. Yet, the allure of the ancient astronaut theory isn't easily extinguished, precisely because there are real mysteries in the past and gaps in our knowledge. We don't have all the answers to how certain things were done, or why certain cultural artifacts exist. And in those gaps, the imagination finds room to wander. The idea that we might have been visited long ago resonates with a very human sense of wonder and perhaps loneliness in the cosmos. If true, it would suggest that we have never really been alone, that our story is intertwined with a larger galactic community. On the flip side, if it's not true, the fact that we long to connect our story with the cosmos speaks to our desire to be part of something bigger. It's fascinating to consider how such contact, if it occurred, would have been interpreted by ancient people. A sufficiently advanced extraterrestrial technology might have seemed like magic or divine power. Visitors from the sky could easily have been woven into myth as gods or heroic figures. Some ancient astronaut proponents argue that this is exactly what happened, pointing to, say, the sudden advancement of certain civilizations, or the similarities between distant cultures' myths of sky gods. This is speculative, of course, and conventional explanations exist. Independent innovation, diffusion of knowledge through trade, and the universal human tendency to look upward and create stories. In the end, ancient astronaut theories remain in the realm of speculation and pseudoscience because they lack concrete evidence, but they occupy a unique place in our cultural landscape, at the intersection of science fiction, history, and the enduring human thirst for mystery. Whether one entertains the notion or not, it prompts us to look at the achievements of our ancestors with fresh curiosity. How would we know if ancient aliens had been here? What traces should we look for? Ironically, the search for hypothetical alien influence in the past often leads to new questions and insights about those ancient cultures themselves, and occasionally to the discovery of new details we hadn't noticed because we weren't looking from that odd angle. As we stand here at this juncture between the past and the future, between evidence and myth, the ancient astronaut idea ultimately tells us more about ourselves than about any hypothetical aliens. It reflects our hopes and our sense of wonder.
We want to know that we're not alone in the universe, and the idea that maybe, just maybe, someone visited us long ago is a compelling narrative to bridge that emotional gap until science finds definitive proof of life beyond Earth. Mainstream science will continue to rigorously explore our origins and our universe, and perhaps one day we will discover evidence of life, or even intelligence beyond our planet. Until then, the stories of ancient astronauts remain as speculative tales, our modern mythology blending stars and stone. Even without evidence, the legacy of the ancient astronaut idea is that it encourages us to look at the ancient world with wide-eyed awe. It reminds us that there are profound mysteries in human history and on cosmic scales alike.
Did aliens visit Earth thousands of years ago? Probably not, according to the best evidence we have now. But asking the question leads us to marvel at what humans have achieved and to remain open-minded about what wonders might exist in this universe. And even if mainstream science finds no solid evidence of ancient visitors, the allure of this idea lies in the boundless curiosity it inspires. We are explorers and storytellers, forever gazing at the stars and wondering what might be, or what might have been. The mysteries of the cosmos, past and present, continue to beckon us onward. For all we have discovered, a question drifts through the cosmic haze. What if reality itself is not what it seems? In the stillness of night, under a tapestry of stars, we wonder, could everything we know be a grand illusion? The simulation hypothesis whispers that our universe might be a cosmic illusion, a construct of code or consciousness. Imagine our lives unfolding within an elaborate program, each star and planet a line of script, every breeze and bird song a carefully rendered detail. It's a disorienting thought, yet here, in the gentle dark, it emerges softly. What if existence is the ultimate sleight of hand, a dream woven with cosmic threads? We peer closer at the nature of reality. Throughout history, sages and scholars have hinted that life may be more ephemeral than it appears. Long ago, Plato described shadows dancing on cave walls, mere reflections of a truer form. Likewise, Eastern mystics spoke of the world as Maya, a kind of sacred illusion. In ancient China, a philosopher told the story of a man who dreamt he was a butterfly, then awoke, unsure if he was truly a man or a butterfly, dreaming of being human. The line between reality and illusion has long fascinated us. In modern times, that old idea takes a new shape. Perhaps we too are flickering shadows cast by some higher dimensional truth. Perhaps our universe is an intricate simulation, every atom calculated, every moment a line of cosmic code executing across eons. In our age of technology, the simulation theory finds new life. We create virtual worlds in our computers, tiny universes where digital characters live out their programmed lives, unaware of any reality beyond their code. If we can craft such worlds, even in their infancy, it stirs the imagination. Could an advanced intelligence have engineered our world in a similar way. Somewhere beyond our reach, maybe beings of unfathomable creativity play with cosmic software, running universe after universe to see what wonders might emerge. The thought can be unsettling at first. We cherish the solidity of the world around us, the warmth of sunlight, the pull of gravity, the ground firm beneath our feet. To think of it all as mere data, a structured illusion, might make us feel unmoored, as if drifting in uncertainty. Yet consider, even if this were a grand simulation, does it lessen the sunrise's beauty? Does it make the touch of a loved one less meaningful, or the melody of a song less sweet? Simulated or not, the experiences we have still bloom in our minds and hearts. A flower in a perfectly crafted virtual garden can still be lovely. A laugh, even if born of code, is still filled with joy. Reality, by any name, feels real when we live it. Scientists and thinkers have pondered how we might tell if our cosmos is artificially designed. They muse about tiny glitches in physics, subtle clues that could hint at underlying code. Perhaps the universe has a finite resolution, like pixels on a screen, too small for us to notice. Maybe high-energy particles, in their behavior, betray a hidden grid, or the constants of nature are set as if by programming. These ideas remain speculative, and so far, the universe reveals no obvious flaws in its seamless tapestry. But the very act of searching for such hints speaks to our deep curiosity. We yearn to know the truth of our condition, whether natural or crafted, and that quest leads us down fascinating paths of thought. In quiet moments, one might reflect on the spiritual side of this notion. Many mystical traditions have long suggested that the world we perceive is an illusion, a dream of the divine, a veil over a deeper reality. The simulation hypothesis is a modern echo of those ancient whispers, that there is more to existence than meets the eye. Under the silent sky, such musings come gently. The night above could be a painted dome in some cosmic theatre, or it could be the light of distant suns in a genuine expanse. Either way, the sense of wonder it awakens in us is undeniably real. Consider the mirror-like nature of reality. When you gaze at your reflection, you know the image isn't the real you, yet it moves as you move, alive in its own way. If our universe is a reflected image of some deeper truth, it might be akin to that mirror, faithfully showing something real, yet being its own illusion. Or think of a dream. Inside the dream, everything feels authentic, even though upon waking, we realize it was all in the mind. Could we one day wake up from this cosmic dream into a higher reality? The idea is profound, but rather than jarring us awake, it lulls us into deeper contemplation. It makes us wonder who or what might be the dreamer. Imagine, somewhere outside the bounds of our perceived universe, a consciousness watching us, the way we might watch characters in a beloved story. Perhaps to them, our struggles and triumphs are a source of fascination or meaning. Maybe we, in our pursuit of understanding and love, entertain or even enlighten our simulators. It's a fanciful thought, yet oddly comforting. that we might not be alone, that our existence could have an author who takes an interest in the narrative of our lives. Then again, if this simulation runs itself, like a wind-up music box set in motion, then we are truly pioneers in a self-unfolding cosmos. In exploring our universe, we become both scientists, mapping reality, and characters, discovering the plot of a story. How remarkable to consider that in studying the stars, we might be decoding lines of code or uncovering the design of a grand experiment. Ultimately, whether our reality is base level or a simulation nested within layers of others, the question stretches our perspective. It reminds us that things may not be as they seem, and urges us to keep our minds open. When we gaze at the Milky Way arching overhead, perhaps we're admiring a masterful rendering meant to inspire us. If so, it succeeds. We are inspired, humbled, and driven to learn more. One intriguing argument arises. If any civilization could craft perfect simulations of universes, there might be countless simulated worlds for every one real universe. If that's the case, the odds that we ourselves live in the one real universe could be very small. In an infinite sea of simulated realities, ours might be just one more. It's a dizzying proposition, one that makes our cosmic journey even more mysterious. As we float in these musings, the boundaries of the known begin to blur and shimmer. If our universe can be seen as an illusion or a construct, it naturally opens the mind to consider what lies beyond it. Perhaps this world is but one chapter in a much larger story, one bubble in a sea of cosmic foam. The thought guides us gently onward. Beyond the idea of a single reality, we drift into an even grander vision, the possibility of countless realities. From the notion of a cosmic illusion, we slip into a vision of multiple universes unfolding beyond our own. For if one reality is possible, why not many? Beyond the edges of our universe lies a tantalizing idea that ours is but a single bubble in an ocean of reality. The multiverse, a realm of infinite worlds, invites us to imagine cosmic possibilities far beyond our familiar stars. Picture an endless expanse of universes, each its own vast cosmos with galaxies and wonders, drifting like bubbles in a cosmic sea. Some might be very much like our universe, others might follow entirely different rules, with different skies and suns, perhaps even forms of life we can scarcely conceive. An infinity of worlds could exist, unseen and unknown, separated from us by vast gulfs of space, time, or dimension. It's a breathtaking idea that stretches the imagination to its limits. Gazing up at the night, we often call it the universe, as if all that exists were contained in that silent darkness above. Yet the multiverse concept suggests that our visible darkness is only a small part of a much greater tapestry. There could be countless other nights beyond our sight, each with their own stars and moons. Perhaps outside the reach of our telescopes, other universes expand and shine, each one isolated in its own bubble of space-time, never to meet ours, but real in their own right. Some scientists propose scenarios for these infinite worlds. One idea arises from the very beginning of our cosmos, the Big Bang. Our universe may have inflated from a tiny spark into a vast expanse. If inflation happened once, perhaps it happened countless times. Each burst could give rise to a separate universe, like dandelion seeds scattered in the wind, each seed blooming into a world unto itself. In this view, beyond the observable horizon of our cosmos, lie other universes, born from other bangs. They might have different conditions and even different laws. One universe might have galaxies arranged in patterns like our own. Another might be too chaotic for stars to form. Yet another could have collapsed back on itself in an instant. In an infinite multiverse, there may be universes with physics so foreign that atoms never coalesce, or worlds that consist entirely of light or dark, or realms with extra dimensions curled up in ways we cannot imagine. Infinite variation across an endless cosmic landscape. Another vision of the multiverse comes from the quantum realm. In our everyday life, when we make a choice, one thing happens and the other possibilities fade into what might have been. But some interpretations of quantum physics suggest that none of those possibilities truly vanish. Instead, reality might branch at each decision or chance event. The multiverse could include a myriad of parallel timelines. In one, perhaps you took a different path in life, and the world grew subtly distinct around that choice. In another, history diverged dramatically. Empires that fell in our world might still stand in that one. Species that went extinct here could have continued to thrive there. These parallel universes would be like ghostly twins of our own, invisible and inaccessible, yet possibly as real as the world we know. In one such universe, maybe there is someone much like you, gazing at their own sky, wondering if other universes exist. Contemplate for a moment the grandeur of this perspective. If the multiverse is real, then the cosmos we know, with its billions of galaxies and trillions of stars, might be just a tiny island in an immeasurable archipelago of universes. Our home is vast to us, but beyond it may lie endless archipelagos of realities, stretching on without end. Some find this idea humbling. Our already enormous universe becomes a small part of an even greater whole. Others find it strangely uplifting, even comforting. If there are infinite worlds, then perhaps anything that can happen does happen somewhere. In the boundless multiplicity of existence, our existence, improbable as it is, finds a context. We are one note in a symphony, with endless movements and variations. Of course, for now these other universes remain theoretical. They might forever elude our detection, separated by distances or dimensions we cannot cross. If they exist, the space between universes isn't space as we know it, but something else entirely, an uncrossable gulf, or perhaps a higher dimensional realm, where each universe is a mere bubble adrift. We search for subtle hints, maybe a peculiar pattern in the cosmic microwave background radiation, something that could be a bruise from another universe bumping ours long ago. Some have even wondered if gravity, the force binding us here, might seep slightly between universes, offering a ghostly hint of others. So far, these are just whispers and tantalizing possibilities. It is as if we stand on a shore, looking out to sea and seeing a faint glow on the horizon that might be distant islands, or just a trick of light as the sun sets. We cannot be sure. Yet the power of the multiverse idea is not in proof, but in possibility. It expands our narrative of reality and reminds us that we should remain open-minded. It says, "This might not be the only story. Just as there are many stars in our galaxy, perhaps there are many universes in the grand scheme, each with its own story of creation, and perhaps even its own chapters of life and mind. In one universe, life might never arise, and endless silence reigns. In another, exotic civilizations could flourish under alien skies, telling their own tales, seeking meaning as we do. The multiverse suggests that existence is not a single melody, but a cosmic symphony with endless variations on themes of creation and possibility. Think of the diversity within our single world, the myriad forms of life on Earth, from deep-sea creatures glowing in the dark abyss to bright birds of the canopy, each so different and yet all sharing one planet. Then extend that diversity to the scale of planets and galaxies in our universe. Gas giants and rocky worlds, spiral galaxies and dwarf galaxies, nebula and black holes. Now, with the multiverse, magnify the diversity again to an almost unimaginable degree. The concept is so vast, our minds can only grasp a sliver of it, like trying to envision infinity itself. Yet, there is beauty in the attempt. It teaches humility. We realize that reality, whatever it ultimately is, far exceeds our ordinary understanding, overflowing with possibilities. Perhaps somewhere in a distant, unreachable universe, there could be someone also gazing at their night sky, wondering if other universes exist beyond their own. They might not call their home the universe as we do, but the feeling of curiosity would be the same. In that sense, across the multiverse, countless eyes might be upturned in wonder, never knowing about each other, yet united by the act of questioning.
We could be connected to those strangers in an unseen way, through that shared desire to understand. It's a reminder that wonder is a universal language, perhaps not just in our universe, but in all universes where conscious minds arise. The notion of infinite worlds gently challenges us to reconsider our place in everything. Our Earth is one planet among many in our galaxy. Our galaxy is one among countless in our universe. And now our universe might be one among an endless multiplicity of universes. Each step outward makes us seem smaller in scale, yet the mere fact that we exist, that we can think about these things, becomes ever more wondrous. Amid infinity, the fact of our presence, that we are here, alive, able to reflect on it all, is precious beyond measure. We become a way for the cosmos to witness its own vastness. So as we ponder the multiverse, we drift between feelings of insignificance and connection.
between the humility of being tiny and the miracle of being at all. Yes, if there are infinite worlds, we are but a drop in an endless ocean, but also, in that vastness, our drop is part of something grand and beautiful. We are part of an infinite story, chapters upon chapters, universes upon universes, forever unfolding. In the quiet of night, under our single universe's sky, the idea of a multiverse can settle like a gentle lullaby of possibility. It reminds us that reality may have layers we have yet to peel back, mysteries that may always lie just beyond the next horizon. We may never visit these other universes, but simply contemplating that they might exist expands our perspective. Our own universe feels more precious, a singular note in a cosmic chorus, and it brings us to a deeply personal realization. Whether or not there are infinite worlds, we ourselves are made of this universe. The stars that we stare at in wonder are kin to us. The boundary between out there and in here begins to blur. We, who wonder about the cosmos, are made of cosmic stuff. The multiverse or not, one truth remains. The matter of the stars is within us. We turn now from the vastness of many worlds to the richness inside ourselves, for we are truly children of the stars, carrying the universe within. We truly are children of the stars. Long before there was an earth or a sun, there were ancient stars burning bright in the young universe. In those stellar furnaces, simple atoms were fused into new, heavier elements. When those stars grew old and reached the end of their lives, they met dramatic ends, exploding as supernovae and scattering their enriched guts across the cosmic sea. Out of those scattered ashes, great clouds of cosmic dust and gas, new stars were born. Our sun was one of them, formed in a nebula seeded by the remnants of earlier stars. Around our young sun, the leftover dust coalesced into planets, one of which was Earth. Every speck of dust, every grain of sand, every drop of ocean, every living cell on Earth is composed of those ancient atoms forged in stars long gone. Consider this astonishing lineage. The calcium in your bones was created in the heart of a star that died before our solar system formed. The iron in your blood, the very element that gives your blood its red hue, was baked in a star's explosive death throes and scattered across space, later to gather into this planet. The oxygen you draw in with each breath was cooked in ancient stars and released into the galaxy when those stars perished. Even the carbon that is the backbone of life, that forms your muscles, your skin, your DNA, was built atom by atom in fiery, stellar cores. When we say we are made of stardust, it isn't just a pretty metaphor. It is the literal truth. Every atom in your body has a story stretching back billions of years to the birth and death of the stars. In a way, we carry the memory of the cosmos within us. The journey of those atoms is almost beyond imagination. Picture a single atom of iron, now quietly riding in your bloodstream. Long ago, that atom may have been deep inside a massive star, part of its very being. When that star ended its life in a colossal supernova, our iron atom was hurled into the void, traveling for ages through interstellar space. It drifted in a diffuse cloud of gas and dust that would one day coalesce into our sun and its planets. Eventually, that atom found its way to Earth, perhaps falling with cosmic dust onto the surface, or trapped in a meteorite that landed in a primordial ocean. Through countless transformations, from rock to soil to plant to animal, that atom finally became part of you. And as you live and breathe, that ancient piece of star participates in your life, carrying oxygen in your blood, helping your cells convert energy. In you, the universe continues its story. Knowing this lineage can change the way we see ourselves. We often think of ourselves as separate from the stars, small beings who merely observe the heavens from afar. But the truth is, the night sky is not just above us, it runs through our veins. The same kind of atoms that sparkle in distant stars also flow within our bodies. In a literal sense, we are the cosmos, and the cosmos is within us. This realization can be profoundly comforting and illuminating. We are not outsiders to the universe. We are deeply, intrinsically part of it. When you look up at the stars, you are seeing distant relatives, composed of the same ingredients, following the same fundamental laws that operate within you. This connection goes beyond just the physical elements. It extends to patterns and structures too. Consider how electrons orbit the nucleus of an atom, and how planets orbit the warmth of the sun. On vastly different scales, nature echoes its themes. Our brains, with their billions of interlinked neurons, form networks that faintly resemble the web of galaxies clustered across the universe. It's as if the universe likes to reuse its most beautiful designs at different scales, from the spiral of a galaxy to the spiral in a seashell, from the microscopic dance of particles to the majestic sweep of galactic superclusters. In each of us, there is a tiny reflection of the cosmos's grand architecture, a universe within the universe. If you close your eyes, you can travel inward. In your mind's eye, imagine diving down into yourself, past your skin and tissues, into the forests of cells, deeper still, into the swirling atoms and the subatomic particles dancing within them. It becomes a journey as wondrous as flying through space. At those smallest scales, your body is mostly empty space, just as, for all its countless galaxies, the cosmos is mostly vast emptiness between the stars. An atom is nearly all void. If you could blow up an atom to the size of a grand cathedral, its nucleus might only be as big as a grain of sand at the center, and its electrons, tiny motes, whirling far out near the walls. We carry those tiny voids inside us, little microcosms that mirror the great gulfs between galaxies. Within us lies not only this physical microcosm, but also a universe of experiences and thoughts. Our consciousness is like an inner cosmos, with ideas and memories as its stars and galaxies. Our imagination can hold entire worlds. Right now, as we speak of distant nebulae or ancient atoms, Perhaps your mind paints images of glowing star clouds, or envisions the tiny atom inside a cell. In that way, each of us creates a universe within, a landscape of thought and dream that reflects the outer cosmos. After all, everything we know about the universe out there comes to us through our senses and is interpreted in the theatre of our minds. The outer cosmos and our inner cosmos are entwined. One gives rise to wonder and meaning in the other. We are the cosmos made conscious. Through our eyes, the universe can gaze upon itself. Through our minds, it can contemplate its own existence. It's often said that we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. The stars made us, and now we, in turn, can admire the stars. When you feel awe under a sky full of stars, it is, in a poetic sense, the universe experiencing awe at its own majesty through your awareness. This connection between the vast and the intimate can bring a deep sense of peace. We are not just in the universe, we are an expression of it, as natural a part of it as the shining of a star or the flowing of a river. The knowledge that the universe is within us, as much as we are within the universe, can make one feel profoundly at home. And just as we have cosmic origins, so too will the substance of our bodies have cosmic futures. The atoms that form us now will one day return to the stars. Long after our individual lives have ended, our elements will cycle on. Perhaps a long time from now, the carbon in your bones will be released back into the soil, taken up by a plant, and become part of a flower or a tree that drinks in sunlight. Perhaps the water in your cells will evaporate into the sky, join the clouds, and fall as rain, flowing into a river that reaches the sea. And perhaps, eons hence, some of our atoms will be drawn into a new star, forming, or cast out into space by that star's light. In time, they may even become part of new worlds, new living beings. In this way, we are participants in an endless cosmic cycle of death and rebirth, of transformation and renewal. It is a comforting thought. Even as individual lives come and go, the material of life, the stardust, continues its journey. To realize that we carry the universe within us is to feel a profound connection to all things. If you ever feel alone, remember that you are literally made of the same matter as the blazing suns overhead. If you feel small or insignificant, recall that inside you resides an immense number of atoms, more than there are stars in the observable universe, each one a tiny miracle of existence. You hold a cosmos of particles within your very self. And if you ever feel lost or without purpose, consider that the iron in your blood was forged in the explosion of a star, an event that illuminated its corner of the galaxy for a brief moment eons ago. Now that iron courses through your veins, allowing you to live, breathe, and wonder. The cosmos is in our bones, in our breath, in our very thoughts. We are each a focal point where the universe is alive and aware. In knowing our celestial parentage, we gain a sense of belonging in the cosmos, This knowledge doesn't diminish the specialness of life. On the contrary, it enhances it. We are part of something continuous and grand. Each of us is a tiny fragment of the universe, yet without each fragment, the universe would not be exactly the same. In the grand history of the cosmos, every piece, every person matters. We, the children of the stars, stand here on Earth and gaze up in wonder, and that wonder itself is our birthright from the stars that made us. Our journey has carried us from the idea that reality might be an illusion, through the concept of limitless worlds, and into the revelation that the cosmos lives within us. We have come to see ourselves not as separate from the universe, but as an intimate part of its story. Now, with this understanding glowing softly in our hearts, we turn our eyes to the small corner of the cosmos we call home. Out in the vast darkness, our fragile world hangs as just one point of light. It appears as a pale blue dot in immensity, a humble stage for the drama of life. Reflecting on our place in the cosmos, we find both humility and reverence for that tiny world that means everything to us. Over 30 years ago, as the Voyager 1 spacecraft was leaving our solar system, it turned its camera back toward home for one final look. From that remote vantage, it captured a portrait of Earth. In that photograph, against the black velvet of space, our planet appears as nothing more than a single point of light, a tiny, pale blue dot suspended in a sunbeam. From billions of miles away, that dot was barely there at all, a fragile pinprick of brightness in an endless void. And yet, within that delicate blue shimmer is everything we know. Every ocean and continent, every mountain and cloud, every moment of history, every person you've ever heard of, every animal, every plant, every story ever told, all of it, every triumph and tragedy, every curiosity and creation, has unfolded on that tiny speck of light. From such a distance, no national borders can be seen, no differences of race or religion, no divisions of us and them, just one world, shining. That faint glow is our shared home. On that dot, the full sweep of human experience has taken place. Every laugh and every tear, every song sung and every hope nurtured, every wrong endured and every act of kindness. All our wars and reconciliations, our inventions and explorations, our philosophies, our religions, our cultures, every hero and villain, every couple in love, every child at play, all of it lived out on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. Seen from the cosmic distance, our differences fade, and we are reminded that we are all part of one family, on one small, floating world. To the cosmos at large, Earth is exceedingly small, a tiny island of life in a vast, dark sea. a speck of stardust glowing blue for a moment in time. And yet, for us, it is home, the cradle that has lovingly held us. In the cold expanse of space, Earth is like a warm, living oasis, the rare and precious bloom of life in an otherwise barren desert. The blue colour of that dot comes from our oceans, the lifeblood of our planet, and from the thin veil of atmosphere that clings around the globe. That faint azure halo signals the presence of air and water, the essentials for life as we know it. It reminds us how unique and fragile our world truly is. We often forget how slender the margin is that makes Earth livable. A wafer-thin atmosphere is all that separates us from the deadly vacuum and radiation of space. From far away, that protective blanket is barely visible, a frail band of blue encircling the planet. Yet it is everything to us. It keeps in the warmth. It provides the oxygen we breathe. It shields us from harmful rays. All the ingredients we need to survive exist in just the right balance on this one world. Earth orbits the sun at just the right distance, in a gentle Goldilocks zone where water can remain liquid and life can flourish. In the grand scale of the universe, such a hospitable haven might be incredibly rare. So far, among all our searches, we have found nothing quite like our Earth. Looking back at our pale blue dot, many astronauts have described a profound shift in their perspective, a feeling often called the overview effect. From space, they saw Earth not as a patchwork of countries, but as one borderless orb glowing with life against the dark. They speak of an overwhelming sense of unity and tenderness toward our planet, a realization that this tiny world is all we have, all that shelters us in the void. They see how delicate it is, how beautiful, and how much it needs our care. In seeing Earth from afar, these travellers felt a deep love and responsibility for it. One astronaut said that from the moon, he could cover the entire Earth with his thumb held at arm's length, and behind it, everything he'd ever known was hidden. That is how small our world can seem, and with that smallness comes a clarity that we, on that world, must live as one and protect the only home we have. That cosmic perspective humbles us. It reveals the folly of our self-importance and the pettiness of many of our quarrels when viewed against the vast backdrop of the universe. It underscores that our destinies are intertwined on that little blue dot. It encourages us to shift from a mindset of division to one of unity, to see humanity as a whole, and Earth as a shared inheritance. All our fights and borders shrink away in the face of that single pixel of light. We see that we truly travel through the universe together, on one tiny vessel. The Earth is so small and so alone out there, and it's up to us to keep its light safe, to keep it thriving. This realization does not fill one with despair, but with reverence. To see our place clearly is to feel both humbled and exalted, humbled by our smallness, yet exalted by the mere fact that we are here at all to observe it. The cosmos did not have to give rise to a world so gentle and alive, or to creatures capable of understanding and love. Yet here we are. The pale blue dot image teaches us that our existence is a gift, that our world, set against the infinite cosmic backdrop, is a treasure beyond price. It underscores the need to cherish this tiny oasis, to be grateful for it every day. When we contemplate Earth from such a distance, we also see it as a beginning, not an end. This little world has birthed us and nurtured us, but it also inspires us to explore beyond it. Standing on the surface of Earth and peering into the cosmic ocean, we cannot help but wonder what lies across those dark waters. Earth is our home, but it is also our launch pad to the rest of the cosmos. From this pale blue dot, we have already begun to venture outward. We've sent robotic emissaries to the moon, Mars, and the outer planets. We've stretched our gaze with telescopes and even hurled a spacecraft beyond our solar system. Voyager 1, after taking that photo, carried with it a golden record, a cosmic message in a bottle containing sounds and greetings from Earth, from the music of different cultures to the chirping of crickets and the laughter of a child. We set it adrift in the hopes that someday, perhaps eons from now, someone or something might find it and know that on a small blue world around a distant star, there once were people who wondered and reached out. That record, and others like it, are now billions of miles away, carrying a tiny piece of us into the stars. For now, humans have only walked on our moon, but we dream of journeys farther still. We imagine people setting foot on Mars, or exploring the icy moons of Jupiter, or one day sailing among the stars to find new homes on distant worlds. The very smallness of Earth in the cosmic perspective fuels that longing, to see what else is out there, to extend the realm of life. Our planet's petite appearance in the void makes us realize how precious it is, but also sparks the question, could we find others, or make homes beyond Earth, so that life's story continues and spreads? Yet no matter how far we go, Earth will always be our precious birthplace. For ages to come, it's likely to remain the only place in the universe where we know life thrives. Imagine a future where explorers travel to other planets, or even other stars. Still, they will look back toward our sun and know that one of the pinpricks of light around it is Earth, that beloved blue cradle. That sight will always tug at the heart, much like a traveller's thoughts return to the home of their childhood. No matter where we wander among the stars, our planet will remain unique and special. It is where the story of us began, where life on Earth blossomed in a tiny cosmic garden against all odds. As we marvel at the image of the pale blue dot, turning it over in our minds, the journey of understanding seems to come full circle. We started by questioning reality, and we end by appreciating the reality of our own home. This perspective readies us for the next steps in our cosmic odyssey. By seeing our world as both exquisitely small and infinitely dear, we gain wisdom and humility for whatever comes next. Knowing our place, we can step forward into the universe with a bit more care and wonder. Our voyage of the imagination has carried us across light years and through profound ideas, and now it returns us gently to our own doorstep. Here we stand, with Earth solid beneath our feet, and the universe stretching out above, feeling both tiny and tremendous. It's time to continue our journey, but in doing so, we carry our home with us in our hearts. The cosmos calls to us with its mysteries, but it also reminds us to treasure where we come from. Balancing our thirst to explore with our love for home will guide us well in the times ahead. And so, as we leave the image of that pale blue dot glowing softly in our mind's eye, we turn to face whatever lies ahead, the onward path that awaits us among the stars. Our journey through these galactic enigmas has been long and wondrous, yet in many ways it is only just beginning. As we draw this exploration to a close, we find that the end of this story is not really an end at all. In the grand timeline of the universe, our adventure in understanding has only scratched the surface. There will always be more to discover, more questions to ask, more mysteries shimmering in the darkness, waiting for curious minds to explore them. Humanity has always been on a journey. Long before we built telescopes or rockets, our distant ancestors looked up at the night sky in wonder. They watched the stars and planets move and spun stories to explain what they saw. The stars guided their travels across oceans and deserts. The heavens became their clock and calendar. In those ancient days, every sunrise and eclipse, every comet that graced the sky, was part of the mystery they yearned to understand. We have come far since then. We have learned to decipher some of the cosmos's secrets. We've built instruments that peer far into space and time, revealing galaxies upon galaxies. We've sent spacecraft to explore neighboring planets and beyond. And yet, in a very real sense, we are still those same wanderers, gazing upward, driven by the same deep curiosity. The Odyssey that began when the first human looked up and felt awe continues with each of us today. This Odyssey is endless because the universe is vast, beyond our imagining. Even if we were to explore 1,000,000 worlds and solve 1,000,000 puzzles, there would still be countless more beckoning just beyond reach. Each discovery we make is not a conclusion, but rather an opening to new questions. We learned that Earth is not the center of all things, and that opened a flood of new questions about what is out there. We discovered galaxies beyond our own, and then wondered about what lay beyond those galaxies. We found evidence of the Big Bang, and asked what came before, and what lies outside the observable universe. Every answer has led to a deeper question. Each horizon gained has revealed another beyond it. It's a beautiful, never-ending pursuit. And the journey continues not just in the vastness of space, but within each of us. As long as we have the capacity to feel wonder and curiosity, the Odyssey goes on in our hearts and minds. Every child who looks up at a twinkling star and asks, "What is that?" or "Why?" is taking up the mantle of exploration. Every time you or I ponder something unknown, be it the nature of consciousness or what lies at a black hole's center, we are continuing the quest that began so long ago. In laboratories and observatories, in classrooms and lonely midnight thoughts, the exploration lives on. We carry the torch of inquiry, passed down through the ages. From the earliest sky watchers who first charted the constellations, to the scientists who today design missions to touch the edge of the solar system. We are all, in our own ways, explorers on this endless journey. The future stretches out before us like the starry sky itself, seemingly infinite, speckled with the light of possibilities. Perhaps one day, far from now, humans, or the beings we become, will learn to sail truly among the stars, building vessels that can traverse the light years and establishing homes on distant worlds. Perhaps we will spread life's precious spark far beyond Earth, so that even as stars are born and die, our lineage of curiosity endures. Or perhaps our journey inward will be just as profound. Maybe we will unlock deeper truths about reality, uncovering layers of the universe hidden to us now, or even create simulated universes of our own, becoming the architects of new realities, just as we wondered if some higher beings might have done for us. The possibilities are as boundless as the cosmos. We cannot know which paths will open, but we can be certain that there will always be new horizons to strive toward. This endless odyssey is not one of anxious restlessness, but one of joyful pursuit. It is in our nature to explore, to learn, to seek meaning. By searching out answers, we also shape our own purpose. In the grand cosmic sense, meaning is not handed to us. We create it by participating in this voyage of discovery. Every piece of knowledge we gain, every insight, every mystery we unravel, and even those we don't unravel, all become part of the human story, the story of the universe, becoming aware of itself. There is a profound fulfillment in simply being a part of that. As we voyage onward through time, we carry with us the insights and inspirations of those who came before, and we prepare the way for those who will follow. You can imagine humanity or intelligent life as a great ship sailing through the cosmic ocean of time. We, living now, are the crew on deck at this moment, navigating by the stars we see. We build on the maps and knowledge charted by our ancestors, who braved unknown seas of ignorance and found new lands of understanding. And when our leg of the journey is done, we pass our maps to the next generation, the next crew, who will continue sailing further into the mystery. The ship keeps moving forward, an endless odyssey through the sea of night. Each generation stands on deck and marvels at the view, adding its own chapter to the logbook of this expedition. Think of how far we've travelled during this odyssey of the mind. We began by questioning the very nature of reality, wondering if everything we see might be an illusion. We journeyed to the idea of a multiverse, imagining infinite worlds beyond our own. We turned inward to discover that we carry the universe within us, forged from stardust. We looked back at our own tiny planet, the pale blue dot, to understand our place in the vast cosmos. Each step shifted our perspective and broadened our understanding. We went out to the farthest reaches of speculation and then returned to the deeply personal truth of our connection to the stars and our love for our home. Now, standing here at the culmination of this journey, it's as though we've returned to the beginning, but with new eyes. The night sky above is the same that our ancestors gazed upon, but we see it now, enriched by knowledge and still glowing with unanswered questions. This is the gentle rhythm of exploration. The more we learn, the more we realize there is to wonder about. In the quiet moments of reflection, when the world around us is still,